and Security. We initially had 4 chairpersons, but we ended up today with 3 chairpersons because one of the chairpersons, who is the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Constitutional Development, Honorable Ngola, we got the message from him over the weekend that he's not well. He is down with flu, and in fact, today he is at a doctor. We do know that the kind of flu that we have nowadays, especially around this time, has been very bad. So we tried to make sure that he can join virtually, but he is not in good health at all. So we wish him a speedy recovery. He would have loved to be here, to be part of the panel, to engage with you on the issues before that committee. However, we do have 3 committees, chairpersons, that are with us today. They are the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Correctional Services in the National Assembly, Honorable Khomotso Anthea Ramolobeng. We also have the chairperson of the Select Committee on Security and Justice in the National Council of Provinces, Honorable 7July2025 Jane Mananiso. And then we do have the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Police in the National Assembly, Honorable Anne Cameron. So, as it is our normal way of conducting this program, they will come individually to present to you, give you a holistic overview of the work that they've been doing as committees. And thereafter, once they are done, we'll engage with your good self and field questions from, firstly, the members of the media. We normally start with the members of the media because of their tight deadlines, so that we start with them, we deal with their questions, and we release them to go and file their stories. And thereafter, we have time to deal with the stakeholders. The stakeholders that are here today are stakeholders that are concerned with crime prevention, community safety, and issues of justice. So those are the organizations that fall under those categories, and they will be discussing those issues with the chairpersons that are here. Thank you very much. Without any waste of time, I'm going to first invite the Honorable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Correctional Services in the National Assembly, Honorable Ramolobeng.
Good morning, and thank you so much, Mr. Matapo. Welcome to everyone who's here, to my fellow chairpersons of other portfolio committee in the NCOP and the NA, my team in the office, which is here, and all stakeholders and media houses present here. As the chair would have indicated, my name is Khomotso Anthea Ramolobeng, the Portfolio Committee Chair on Correctional Services. I want to begin my session with a review on the Correctional Service Act 111 of 1998. The committee is pleased that the Department of Correctional Service will be reviewing the Correctional Services Act of 111 of 1998. This will also enable the committee to provide inputs on areas that it believes it should be amended and strengthened, including Section 73 of the Act, which deals with the management of foreign national inmates in our facilities. We had during the budget debate when the minister indicated that there were around 24,000 foreign national. In actual fact, there are around 25,585, which we have received an updated stats on this. The state was updated on the 30th of June, by the Office of the National Commissioner in our correctional facilities across the country, which costs the state a day 11 million. The committee is seriously concerned that our correctional facilities have so many foreign nationals, but our country, I'll allow you to finish, Mr. Matapo. Please don't eat on my time. Thank you. The committee is, however, seriously concerned that our correctional facilities have so many foreign nationals across the country, but our country has not either also entered into an inmate exchange program with other countries to see how do we mitigate this challenge that we have of foreign nationals in our facilities. We intend to review this provision specifically as it relates to incarceration of foreign nationals. We want to provide for foreign nationals serving life sentences to serve their sentences in their countries of origin, because we have around 13,444 who are sentenced foreign nationals, and we have around 12,145 which are remand detainees. So the 13,444, we should enter into an exchange program with their countries so that they can serve those life sentences in their country where they come from. We also do encourage the minister to consult further with the Minister of Home Affairs with this matter to deepen their relation, and also whilst we enter into the review process of the Correctional Service Act, especially the Section 73, subsection 1 and 2, which speaks to the length of the sentence and the form of the sentence to allow the department to be able to enter into the deportation processes with Home Affairs to send foreign nationals to serve their sentences in their countries. And this has been one of the key discussion of the Portfolio Committee. I think some of you were here when we had the press briefing in January, and this was amongst the key identified focal points of the Portfolio Committee that it would have recommended to the department that we should amend Section 73 of the Correctional Service Act. So we are pleased that the department, when it appeared before the Portfolio Committee, when they presented the APP and budget for 2025-2026, they did say they would enter into amending the whole component of the Correctional Service Act, which means communities, civil societies, the Portfolio Committee would have an input to this section. So for us, we are highly, highly pleased that the department has adhered to the call of the Portfolio Committee in this matter. On the issue of remand detainees with bail as less than 1,000 rand to an extent of less than 300 rand, the Department of Correctional Services has a total of 162,954 inmates across all correctional facilities. And this is an updated stats, as I indicated, from the 30th of June that was sent to us as the Portfolio Committee, of which 105,023 are sentenced inmates, 57,603 are remand detainees. Remand detainees are the biggest contributor to overcrowding in correctional centers. We are concerned about the staggering cost of keeping and maintaining remand detainees in our correctional facilities, which currently cost the department around 470 and 480 a day to house an inmate or a remand detainee, which is around a month, about 13,000 for each detainee. Taking into consideration the pressing issues of overcrowding in our correctional facilities, many remand detainees are in centers for months and years simply because they cannot afford to pay bail, as little as I indicated. And a case in point study would be your Polsmo Correctional Facility, which I think some of the media houses were with us when we did the oversight, where we had around 500 inmates who had bails of less than 300 rands or 500 rands, but have been sitting in correctional facilities for months without being able to pay for that bail. We cannot have a system that further perpetuates the injustices that our constitutional democracy so desperately tries to correct. Now, there are two legislative provisions that in theory are supposed to assist in managing overcrowding in correctional facilities, but in reality, they are producing very minimal results. And those provisions are outlined in the Section 63A of the Criminal Procedure Act and the Section 49G of the Correctional Services Act. The department's annual report for the 2023-2024 financial year records that it submitted a total of 19,391 referrals to court under the Section 63A, but only 5,091 of these were successful. And 9,667 applications were referred to the courts under Section 49G, and this yielded a tiny success rate of 3% being successful. We call on the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, as well as other key stakeholders in the criminal justice system, to take seriously its relationship with the Department of Correctional Services, because of most of these challenges do not emanate from the department itself, which is the Correctional Service, not delivering to its mandate. So it is a justice cluster issue. Regarding on infrastructure and maintenance in correctional facilities, this mission of the Department of Correctional Services is to contribute to a just, peaceful, and safer South Africa through effective and human incarceration of inmates and the rehabilitation and social reintegration of offenders. This mission can only be achieved by accommodating offenders in detention conditions that are consistent with human rights or human dignity. But due to aging, lack of maintenance, overcrowding, and vandalism by inmates, the infrastructure and bulk services have experienced fatigue in many of correctional centers across the country. Some of these facilities require day-to-day maintenance, whilst others require a major R&R upgrades or repairs. The committee has raised concerns about the state of correctional facilities during oversight visits to these facilities, particularly regarding the maintenance of infrastructure by the Department of Public Works and infrastructure on conditions of kitchens that we have engaged on where we've done oversights. DCS has informed the committee, the department has informed the committee that Public Works has devolved maintenance of infrastructure to the department. However, this is done without proportional budget allocation to DCS. DCS has informed the department that a total of 8 billion was processed and paid to the Department of Public Works under the auspices of user charges allocation in the 2024-2025 financial year. The committee has since resolved to request that the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure appear before the committee, the Portfolio Committee, on the 15th of July to clarify this matter and look at other infrastructure challenges faced by the department. And we're pleased that the Minister of Public Works has agreed to come before the Portfolio Committee. So next week on Tuesday, we would be meeting with a delegation led by the Minister and the department to come and speak to infrastructural issues that the Department of Correctional Services faces. The department currently provides foods for inmate and correctional facilities using their own kitchens and using offender labor. I think we all know or aware that cooking in correctional facilities is done by inmates. During our oversight visit to correctional facilities across the country or provinces, the committee raised concerns about the state of kitchen facilities in some of the centers we have visited. The committee was particularly concerned about the general state of the kitchen in Medium A in Durban, Westville Correctional Facility, where almost half of the equipment was not working. We have then recommended to the Department of Correctional Services that the kitchen in Durban, Westville and Medium A must be temporarily closed to make certain arrangements to repair and renovate. And we're pleased to announce that the department has adhered to that, and the kitchen, it is temporarily closed up until all major repairs and renovations are alluded to. Last year, we also noted that the department temporarily closed kitchens in Modape due to non-compliance and the state of the kitchen that it was in. And we were told in March, when the department appeared before the Portfolio Committee, that the kitchen is now fully functional, which as the portfolio committee were taking a decision that amongst those who stay in Gauteng, they would do an unannounced visit to check the state of that kitchen since it has resumed operationals in March. We have recommended to the department that it explore self-sufficient means for immediate infrastructural repairs and make use of offender labor where appropriate under the skills development curriculum. We call on the Department of Public Works as the custodian of all government buildings to take seriously its mandate to repair, refurbish, and maintain critical infrastructural issues that relates to all correctional facilities. And this speaks to the overall total of 243 correctional facilities across the country. On financial management and expenditure control, the Department of Correctional Services has been allocated a budget of 29.2 billion for the current financial year, and this amount is expected to increase to 32 billion in the next 2027-2028 financial year. The committee was also concerned with the projected 1.4 billion overspending in the third quarter of the 2024-2025 financial year. The committee has urged the department to tighten its belt and implement measures to cap expenditure, including placing more emphasis on a self-sufficient and sustainability model and using offender labor to cut costs. The committee also has noted underfunding, particularly in the capital budget, which impacts infrastructure upgrades and maintenance, as well as budget constraints in the information technology branch. Another concern of the committee has been the cost of the department or the privately run correctional centers and whether we have gotten value for money on those. We note the terms of the contracts for the two privately run prison facilities, being Mangaung in the Free State and Kutamas in Tumole in Limpopo, are set to expire in 2026 and 2027, respectively. We welcome the department's decision to take over the two privately run facilities. We must reiterate, though, that the provision of law and order is a key function of any government, and this duty should not be delegated to a private sector. The success of any correctional facility should be judged by its ability to rehabilitate offenders and reduce recidivism rates. So far, private prisons have failed to demonstrate that they are cost-effective, innovative, or produce better results for the rates of recidivism. Although privatization is recognized by legislation, the issue of private-public partnerships, which are triple Ps, facilities remain deeply controversial and requires us to look into the affordability, value for money, and risk allocation for such contracts. If we do not act swiftly in terms of our state of readiness to take over privately run facilities, we risk privatization continuing to consume significant public funds without delivering measurable outcomes in public correctional facilities. In the interest of transparency, accountability, and improved oversight, we look forward to this contract reaching the end of their term, subsequently 2026 and 2027. The last point, which is rehabilitation and social integration. Rehabilitation and social integration remain the core focus of the Department of Correctional Services for the current financial year. Rehabilitation and social reintegration received 2.2 billion, which is 8% of the budget, and 1.2 billion, which is 4%, respectively. The committee has urged the department to ensure that the allocation of these two programs improves. The committee will continue to scrutinize the effectiveness of educational, vocational, and therapeutic programs, including the success rate of inmate reintegration into society and the reduction in recidivism rate. The annual performance plan for 2025-2026 highlights how the department will promote rehabilitation programs by providing long-term occupational skills programs to 90% of offenders who qualify and offering general education and training to 90% of those who are qualifying offenders amongst those initiatives. During a recent presentation on this matter, which was 2 weeks ago when the department appeared before the portfolio committee, we noted that inmates were not taking up this opportunity in large numbers to participate in programs. We urged the department to encourage stronger participation that would benefit both offenders and the department. A greater number of inmates participating in such programs in workshops or agricultural settings, developing skills that assist offenders when they are released from correctional facilities, making social reintegration a more smoother, and at the same time, it will save the department money as they strive for self-sufficiency. So, Mr. Matapo, that was my last, this was my presentation on observations that the portfolio committee has made to the department since we last appeared before stakeholders and media houses in January on the work that the portfolio committee has been doing. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair Amlobeng, for that comprehensive presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, may I please call to the podium the Honorable Chairperson of the Select Committee on Security and Justice in the National Council of Provinces, Honorable Mananiso.
Thank you, Mr. Matapo, and good morning, honorable members, chairpersons, and greetings to all media houses, and as well, greetings to all the leadership from all the corners of South Africa. And I can see that we have FBOs here, and as well the COISAN and other members from different NGOs. You are greeted and welcome to our briefing session. This is our first time participation as the NCOP in terms of this media briefing. I would want to actually highlight to yourself that as the NCOP security cluster, I'm in charge of Home Affairs, I'm in charge of Correctional Services, I'm in charge of Constitution and Justice, I'm in charge of Defense and Military Veterans, and as well SAPS, and we are doing as well petition and undertakings. So most of the people, they don't know about the work that we are doing as the NCOP. So NCOP actually represent the provincial interest from different provinces. And we are here to actually take you through in terms of our engagement as the security and justice cluster on issues that we've been dealing with when we've been executing our oversight and accountability. My issues will focus on governance and legislative matters, matters affecting military veterans, human resource challenges, and as well accountability and use of public funds. Honorable Chairpersons, the SANDF operates within a clearly defined framework shaped by our Constitution. The Defence Act number 42 of 2002, national policy and strategic planning instruments, such as the 2015 Defence Review. The structure mandates the SANDF to safeguard our country, sovereignty, and its people. However, the institution continues to face serious challenges in terms of governance. A key concern is the delaying in finalizing the Military Discipline Bill, which is intended to modernize the military justice system and improve internal accountability. The lack of progress here weakens command structures and undermines discipline. Procurement remains another area of concern. The SANDF must bring its procurement processes fully in line with the Public Financial Management Act to prevent ongoing irregular and wasteful expenditure, issues that continues to be flagged by the Auditor General. Weaknesses in financial oversight, particularly within supply chain management, require urgent attention. As we engage with them in our Select Committee, we normally emphasize the fact that the PMFMA is a prescript in terms of how to run public funds. We also need to ensure transformation goals are being met, especially regarding diversity in leadership and gender equality. Currently, implementation often lacks alignment with the ambition of the 2015 defense reviews, which impact the SANDF in terms of the readiness and long-term viability. Furthermore, the committee must oversee operations related to border security, internal deployments under Section 201 of the Constitution, and South Africa's commitment in peacekeeping mission abroad. In terms of issues of military affecting military veterans, honorable members, fellow South Africans, military veterans play a pivotal role in order to make sure that the broader defense community is being taken care of. Yet the implementation of Military Veterans Act number 18 of 2011 remains inconsistent, particularly in delivering benefits such as housing, education, healthcare, and pensions. Ongoing administration issues, outdated databases, and poor interdepartmental coordination hamper service delivery to the veterans. Previous parliaments have recommended closer scrutiny. Tate Mothapo, can you protect me?
Apologies, Chair. Can you assist us, those who are managing the because I know the hybrid event. So can we please switch off those mics? Seems like somebody has left their mic on the virtual platform. Please switch it off. If they can't switch off, please help them. We've got that capability to switch them off. Thank you very much. Sorry, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Mothapo. If they can't switch off, they must be removed. Previous parliaments have recommended closer scrutiny on how veterans' benefits are allocated. We take these recommendations seriously and intend to hold the Department of Military Veterans accountable for making real progress. Reintegration efforts for veterans, particularly those leaving active duty, must include mental health services and training opportunity to support their participation in the economy. There must also be greater clarity about SANDF role in easing the transition for former service members. On this matter, honorable members and Mr. Mothapo and fellow South Africans, we always emphasize the fact that the province and the local government must come to party, because at the ultimate end, these military veterans, they belong to their constituencies. In terms of human resources challenges, the SANDF faces serious human capital issues. Its workforce is aging and career advancement is limited. A major share on the budget is spent on employee compensation, leaving too little to crucial areas like training, equipment, and operations. And as the Select Committee, we always emphasize that it should be the opposite. We would want to see more budget going to services. We are also concerned about the high number of acting appointments, particularly in management. These temporary roles reduce stability, make strategic planning difficult, and erode accountability. Effective succession planning and prompt merit-based appointment must be prioritized. We want to see this space being professionalized. Disciplinary processes also need attention. Repeated findings from the Auditor General show both the Defense Department and military veterans struggle with poor consequence management and unresolved disciplinary cases. Honorable members and fellow South African, one concerning example involves a suspended employee who continued to receive fully pay for over 5 years without any resolution. An unacceptable situation that points deeper to systematic failures. And we know that as members of parliament, it is our responsibility to follow public affairs. Accountability, use of public funds, audit reports continue to highlight irregular and wasteful spending, procurement failures, and inadequate contract management in the SANDF. Non-compliance with the PMFMA, combined with the weak internal controls, has eroded financial accountability within the department. There is a pressing need for better alignment between budget planning and actual operational need, poor asset management, and delays. In financial planning, further complicate oversight efforts and weaken public trust in the defense system. The committee remains firmly committed to holding the department accountable. We will continue monitoring the implementation of audit recommendation, financial reporting accuracy, and the progress of corrective action plans. Effective oversight ensures that public funds are used wisely and supports the SANDF in fulfilling its constitutional duties. Our role is not simply to scrutinize, but to ensure that performance integrity, and strategic objectives are aligned with the expectation of the South African. As I conclude, honorable members and Mr. Mothapo, one thing that one would want to fully take you in confidence in terms of our issues as a cluster is the fact that the issue of old infrastructure and maintenance is one of the matters that we are trying to deal with, working with the public works. And in some other areas, we got the report that SAPS is actually complying and paying their monthly maintenance with regards to what they owe on the public works. And other issues is with the fact that all these entities under us as a select committee have the same problem with regards to insufficient budget. And it's what we are actually pushing as the select committee in terms of lobbying and advocacy, that in our cluster, let all these entities work together before they explore the public-private partnership. They need to ensure that they do proper planning, all of them, and it should be integrated so that they deal with this issue of insufficient budget. And we are getting there because we've been seeing them and having joint meetings with them in terms of dealing with these issues as sister department and as well governance. On other matters, the old ICT system, it's one of the issues that let modernization, digitalization, and automation be fast-tracked because of it will deal with many issues that has to do with lack of proper recording and as well the backlog of cases that are there, some not even registered. But if you have a fully fledged ICT digital system, you would be able to speak to many issues. And we have been advocating as well for funded vacancies to be fully responded to in terms of the fact that we would want the department to ensure that when they open for these vacancies, they must ensure that transformational agendas are being covered. One of our members in our committee has raised the issue that it is not correct in our lifetime that you would only find senior position be filled by people of my color only. So it doesn't represent South African picture. So we are making sure that the transformational agenda is addressed swiftly as we speak to these issues of vacancies. And the cadet program that BMA will be coming with would actually even assist to deal with the issues of the boundaries where we know that we've got issues. From my side, one would want to say that the committee is advocating for capacity and capabilities in this sector to ensure that we build a safer communities. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair of the Select Committee on Security and Justice, Honorable Mananiso. The last presentation, ladies and gentlemen, comes from the Portfolio Committee on Police in the National Assembly, led by the chairperson, Honorable Anne Cameron.
Point of order, Chair.
No. This is not a meeting or a house sitting. There are no orders. Can you please switch off the mic and allow the chairperson to present? Thank you very much. Please, let's cooperate.
Thank you, Chairperson, Mr. Mothapo, everyone here today, to my fellow chairpersons behind me, and the members of the media, many community members that are also here today. Welcome to you. It's a pleasure to have you with us in the house today. I'm sure we know what the discussion is that's going to come up today. So let's get the laugh out first. And then on a lighter note, before I begin with the formal part, I was joking with someone this morning, and I was having some banana bread with my daughters yesterday morning. And the next moment I see General Mkonazi in his task force uniform on TV, and the entire Sunday turned into a Monday. So it's been a very busy 24 hours. On a serious note, I want to speak to integrity in the South African Police Service. Last week, we had the budget review, discussion, feedback, and the adoption of the budget. And one of the critical things that I mentioned was the integrity testing process in the South African Police Service. Now, the damning allegations made by the KZN Provincial Commissioner yesterday, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, has placed the necessary focus on the integrity, or rather the lack thereof, in the entire criminal justice system. This is not just an indictment on the South African Police Service or parts of it, it's an indictment on the criminal justice system. If what has been said is true, it explains why the system has not been able to effectively arrest the ever-increasing criminality in the country. The allegations are not only damning to a few individuals, it indicates a whole systematic weakening of the police to enable corruption and to undermine the rule of law. The revelations paint a picture of a very weak system, a very broken system, obviously a corrupt one, corruption riddled in the entire institution of the criminal justice system, and a system that can be manipulated at the whims of a connected few, politically connected or otherwise. In terms of SAPS, it's important to emphasize that they have a constitutional mandate to ensure the safety and security for everyone within the borders of South Africa. And for this calling to be effective, it requires every single one of the men and women in blue to be beyond reproach. And unfortunately, the events of the past 2 to 3 weeks, not only what happened yesterday, indicate something else. And it, in my opinion, has proven that there really is a significant integrity deficit in many, many parts of the South African Police Service. The arrests of senior officers in the crime intelligence environment over the last few weeks for allegations of fraud and corruption, as well as yesterday's revelations, require urgent action from the president. Now, I think it's one thing that many of us can speculate and move from one side to the other, but it's very important to emphasize the role that the president has to play. I'll come back to that now. As the head of state, the president has a responsibility to implement an intensive investigation into the corruption allegations at SAPS to protect and promote the credibility of the service. The committee welcomes, and this is the police committee, the assurance of the president in his latest press release to give the matter due regard upon his return from Brazil, but has urged that this matter be priority number one. Over and above this, the revelations have given credence to the call by the committee for an extensive skills and lifestyle audit. There's not one member of the Police Portfolio Committee that doesn't constantly question the lack of lifestyle audits, and obviously the resolution of Parliament last year that a skills audit must be urgently done. I actually want to go as far as saying we need to go through an entire integrity commission to get to the bottom of the rot in the South African Police Service. In terms of the revelations that have given credence to the call by the committee for these skills and lifestyle audits, starting with all senior management within the South African Police Service, and especially the crime intelligence environment. Every month, as I said, this call is repeated. What is clear is that the accountability is necessary and obviously urgent, and that the people deserve to know and feel that the South African Police Service is made of men and women who are ready to serve in the interest of the country and not for selfish reasons. We cannot continue one more day with criminals masquerading as police officers. For its part, the committee will have to determine the need for an urgent meeting where the protagonists are called to account. The entire committee is in agreement that such a session must be held, and we have already written to the Speaker, as well as the House Chairperson, for the relevant processes to take place. I wrote to the Speaker of the National Assembly yesterday to also ask for an urgent debate on the integrity of the South African Police Service and the implications of the revelations on the credibility and standing of the South African Police Service in the fight against crime. In 2023, you would remember that the minister then, Minister Bheki Cele, stated that 5,000 police officers had been arrested since 2019, and of those, 4,000 were still employed by the South African Police Service. While these numbers might have changed now, probably increased, unfortunately, the continued erosion of integrity is advanced by the nonchalant attitude to consequence management within the South African Police Service. Words without action will allow for lip service to continue. and the lip service assurance on integrity within the South African Police Service. It is high time that both the men and women in blue with an inclination for criminality are fired from the service. Before I go through the action steps proposed, just want to name a few examples that I think are critical to mention. Over the past year, the committee has raised several big questions about corruption, about ill-considered appointments, whether in the Hawks or the South African Police Service, people that get promoted that are certainly not beyond reproach. And to this day, in the majority of cases, we never get an answer to clarify. And we have given more than enough opportunity to get clarity on many of the questions that we have asked. And one of the examples that we used over the last few weeks was quite close to here, in the Cape Flats, where at least 4 or 5 specific examples of members that were arrested for drug trafficking, for involvement of selling dockets, of transporting drugs in police vehicles in uniform, are back at the station, and they are expected to provide frontline services. How is that fair to the general public while we know of criminality in the ranks? I'll come back to that again shortly. Some of the following immediate solutions could be considered, and this is specifically with regard to the integrity challenges within the South African Police Service. The first one is an appointment of some kind of an ad hoc inquiry or commission with a clear timeline to urgently investigate the allegations. And I must emphasize with this the importance of the dockets that were mentioned yesterday by General Mkhwanazi, that those dockets or the processes regarding them should be frozen until an independent inquiry can be done. I think it is a massive risk to just leave them in the system after what we heard yesterday. The second one, is an external independent body to undertake the lifestyle audits for all senior officers from brigadier and upwards. Why do I say that? There's a massive question about vetting, security clearance, etc., in the senior ranks of the South African Police Service. Very often, 2 things are raised. We've asked questions regarding vetting. We very often hear that there's a backlog with the State Security Agency, and therefore vetting is behind. Now, I want to ask you how it's possible that appointments still get made despite that backlog. Surely we can't allow for someone to enter into a position that they haven't been cleared for and don't have the relevant security clearance if it is a critical need for them to be vetted for such. When you become a brigadier, you must have top secret security clearance. And we have it on good authority that many of them do not have top secret security clearance, despite being in those positions, and other ones that are also higher ranked too. I think another part, before I go on with the list, that I must mention with this is also the training excuse that we very often get. Very often we say, but someone isn't qualified for a specific position. The answer that we get is that they would go for a course. But how were they selected in the first place if they didn't complete the necessary courses in the first place? That begs the question. The fourth one is an independent body to undertake the vetting exercise of all senior SAPS officers. And I say this because I must be honest with you today, after of what I've seen in the last month, I do not have trust in the authorities at the moment to conduct those very vetting exercises on their own. I think it is critical for some kind of an independent institution or body to play a role in that process. The fifth one is the reconfiguration of the crime intelligence environment to ensure only fit and proper individuals are employed in that environment. We must be very careful that we don't just replace someone with the next best option or that the relevant investigation isn't completed. We must make sure that it is fit and proper. I see calls for within 24 hours, X must be done, but I want to tell you that the rot is so serious and the problems we have, it causes such chaos that whether it's 24 hours or 72 hours, it's not going to change the situation. We need to do things right and according to the book and make sure if we clean, it needs to be done properly. The second last one is the skills audit for all the senior managers within the South African Police Service. This became a resolution of Parliament last year already in 2024. It has been said in the annual performance plan and the budget of the South African Police Service that this would be implemented before the end of this calendar year. We're still waiting to see it. The last one is the adequate resourcing of the Independent Police Investigative Directorate. It is very clear to us that very often, as soon as IPID engages in certain types of investigations, it is very difficult for them to conduct such an investigation independently. Many people would differ from me and would say that that is not the case. But when you speak to IPID investigators, you realize what the stresses are that they work under. And it's the same with internal anti-corruption investigations in the South African Police Service. We had a very promising visit recently from the Kenyan version of IPID, IPOA, here at Parliament, arranged by APCOF. And it was a phenomenal discussion to see how independent they actually function. Because of their independence, they don't actually report to the same minister as the police, because otherwise, how do they ensure ultimate independence? I think it was a very useful discussion to be had, and we all agreed that that is the direction we need to move in. Unfortunately, little or no substantive response has been given regarding serious matters of criminal and disciplinary misconduct within SAP's ranks and from the highest to the lowest level, as I mentioned earlier. Many of those flagged as being involved in serious offences are still working, some even out on bail after being charged for significant transgressions. If I'm not mistaken, one member was arrested here close to Cape Town Central with just under 1,000 Mandrax tablets. He's back at work again. The Philippi Training Academy is one example of no action. It's a year later since the committee inquired about corruption. Everyone implicated in the corruption at the Philippi Training Academy are still working there, and the Hawks are still inquiring. Then I want to move over to the matter of Mr. Vusimusi Kat Motlala. 8 weeks ago, we started questioning matters of how Mr. Motlala continuously gets accreditation from the Private Security Regulatory Authority despite his past transgressions. Now, you'd remember a few months ago, SARS conducted a raid at Mkhize, Miss Mkhize's home, the owner of a well-known soccer club. During that raid, a whole cache of firearms were seized. All of those firearms were registered to a security company belonging to none other than Mr. Kat Motlala. Now, after questioning CIRA about how on earth they continue to allow accreditation, the answer was that they couldn't find a transgression. Now, if it were you or I that kept firearms illegally at a property where they're not registered to be kept and that's not fit and proper for keeping those firearms, we would not only face criminal procedures, but we would obviously have our firearms seized. Well, all of the firearms were returned to the said security company. And up until now, despite the parliamentary question submitted 2 months ago, again, unfortunately, no answer. The recent arrests of the CI officers by the National Prosecuting Authority's Investigative Directorate Against Corruption is also a potential step to accountability. And obviously now we need to allow the law to take its course. The committee has long advocated for prosecution-led investigations and obviously intelligence-led policing. But for that to happen, we need to clean up the actual intelligence. The potential of this body to assist in also dismantling corruption syndicates must also be protected and promoted, as with all the others. Crime intelligence remains a potent tool to fight organized crime, and the cleaning up of crime intelligence is critical, as it feels like SAPS at the moment is fighting blind. I'm going to use the gang issue all over the country as an example. Let's use Johannesburg, for example. If you speak to many of the anti-gang unit members, and the reason why I keep referring to ground level members is I believe it is the best way to really determine what the reality on the ground is, instead of just waiting for purely a parliamentary report back. They will all tell you that in many of the cases, the informers either don't get paid, or if they don't pay them personally, they don't have intelligence to work on and they fight blind. Hence the violence that we continue seeing to happen. Then I want to move over to a different topic, and this is the statistics on crime against women and children that you would remember was omitted recently during the crime statistics release. South Africa is facing a serious challenge of gender-based violence and femicide. The omission by SAPS of disaggregated data on crimes against women and children, specifically regarding murder and assault with the intent to cause grievous bodily harm from the fourth quarter crime statistics of 2024-25 financial year is both concerning and totally illogical. The senior leadership of the South African Police Service has promised the committee that policing will be data-driven to ensure that adequate personnel and skills can be deployed to counter the trends. The decision to omit these disaggregated statistics undermines this pledge and puts into question the appetite to really combat the scourge that we speak about. The committee has written to the South African Police Service 4 reasons behind the mission and is studying the response. The committee will decide if the reasons provided are adequate or require invocation of its powers to summon the relevant officials to give evidence under oath, affirming as provided for the National Assembly rules and the Powers and Privileges Immunity of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act. The omission gives credence to the criticism of the credibility of the crime stats and directly undermines the fight against gender-based violence. We will soon get detailed feedback on data integrity issues with regards to this said data. I think the latter must just be emphasized, that we have received a response and it did indicate serious issues regarding data integrity and data variance on violence against women and children. So there's a massive inquiry needed just regarding that, because it's not just the last quarter's data, it is data from several other quarters too. You will notice on SAPS's website that much of the data that was previously published has since been removed for what I'm told relevant interrogation. Then the gap between arrests and convictions. Operation Chanela has been lauded by the South African Police Service as a highly effective in removing criminals from the streets. In January this year, the minister announced that over 1 million arrests have been made since the inception of this in May 2023. And while this number is laudable, the gap between arrests and convictions continue to be a major Achilles heel for the criminal justice system. We can't praise 1 million arrests if we only have less than 1 or 10% conviction of the million arrests. Then we just have to arrest the same person the next week again. This means that while many individuals are apprehended for the alleged crime, a significant smaller proportion are ultimately found guilty in a court of law. While the committee acknowledges that the South African Police Service cannot combat crime alone, weaknesses within the service must be eradicated to enhance convictions. The strengthening of the detective services to ensure trial-ready dockets is critical because the current ratio of detectives to over 400 dockets is simply not sustainable. Also, the revitalization of forensic science labs to ensure that DNA evidence is produced timeously will enhance responsiveness to the entire system. But most importantly, all of the components of the JCPS cluster must be integrated to close the gap between arrests and convictions. Now, within the next 2 or 3 weeks, we have a session regarding the joint or the integrated justice system, and a lot of money has already been spent on it, and we will hopefully get feedback on what that process is. Because I can tell you now, we've continued with a siloed approach, and one department has different strategic goals than the other, we are being counterproductive. The last few matters. The committee welcomed the service enhancement initiative announced by the Minister and the National Commissioner, and it remains hopeful that the initiatives implemented or will be implemented in a reasonable time. Those are the ones that they recently announced. I think it's about 3 weeks ago. Key among the initiatives is the capacitation of both the detectives and crime intelligence units, albeit still far from the capacity needed, is a welcome intervention, as it will ensure that crime is prevented before it happens, or hopefully so, and effectively also investigated once it has occurred. The 4,000 new detectives and 300 new intelligence operatives add the necessary skills and warm bodies to increase the impact of these critical units. The committee has emphasized the call that that number must be increased over time. Also, it's important that the South African Police Service management look at the functionality of 10111. And it was positive to hear the steps towards digitization over the last week, especially through the budget process. And 10111, as we all know, have faced numerous challenges and was not providing victims with the adequate support when they desperately needed it. These centers are the lifeblood between the police and communities and should never be neglected. Portfolio Committee will soon undertake an oversight, which will include a visit to the relevant centers to ascertain. Ultimately, The South African Police Service must regain trust in communities as a way of ensuring effective interventions to combat crime. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson Cameron. And also the Chairperson Ramolobeng and Chairperson Mananiso for comprehensive presentations. As is a normal procedure, we are going to open the floor for questions from the media. Of course, emphasizing and stating the obvious that this is not a media briefing on one issue. It's a media briefing on a wide range of issues from wide range of oversight committees of Parliament. Thank you very much. So we'll take the first batch of questions, and the chairpersons, I think, I hope that all of you are close to the mic, but if it's not, the mic is not comfortable, do it close enough. In your responses, you can still approach the podium. That is your choice. Thank you very much. Questions? Like we said, only the media first, and thereafter we will deal with the stakeholders. You will be the first, and then you will be the second, Lindsay, and then you will be the third, you will be the fourth, and then you will be the fifth, you will be the sixth. Yeah, 6 hands in that order.
Hi, Theolan Temba from Independent Media. I've got 2 questions, one for the cluster as a whole. Anyone can just take it. Obviously, we've all been discussing the information that came out yesterday from the KZN Police Commissioner. Just from your side as a cluster, how concerned are you about the accusations that have been made? And obviously, we do know that this will be the president has been brought to his attention. But just from your side, what concerns do you have regarding the allegations? And then, secondly, my questions for Ian Cameron. I recently had an interview with a crime expert from the University of Stellenbosch, Dr. Guy Lamb, who pointed out that since about he said, if we're able to get a handle on firearms, because firearms are the leading weapon used in most violent crimes, you can bring down crime levels. And we saw what happened in the late 90s to 2010, and then crime goes up again. A lot of that has to do with police taking their foot off the accelerator, in a way, not remaining true to dealing with the problems of illegal firearms. And since 2011, there's been a large upswing in the availability of firearms. So just from your side, what if it's being taken to hold police accountable in kind of demolishing firearms and taking them off the streets? Because we've seen in a lot of instances they've often cropped up in numerous cases and not just one. And thank you. That's it from me.
Number 2.
Thanks, Moloto. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News. First to Ms. Ramolobeng. What do you make of the minister's statement last week during the budget vote that maybe the debate on corporal punishment should be revisited to deal with the issue that you spoke about earlier, the overcrowding as a result of remand detainees? And then to Mr. Cameron, sorry. Minister Mkhunu has previously denied in your committee having links with Brown Mokgotsi. What do you make of the contradiction then, given what the commissioner said yesterday? And does the committee want to meet with the minister in light of those revelations that were made yesterday? Thank you.
Thank you. 3.
Thank you, Moloto. My name is Bulelani from the SABC. Just following up on the plan of action, Mr. Cameron, should the minister still be in his position or suspended while that ad hoc committee or commission of inquiry ensues, given that we read that the latest news is that the General Mkhwanazi has opened a criminal investigation against him? The second question is that what is your view on the accusation that General Mkhwanazi's presser yesterday was bordering on lawlessness and was breaking police protocol, given the view that the very people that he accuses would have been the people that would have to report these allegations to, so they could have sat on those things. So the argument being that this presser would have been seen as a whistleblower. And the last question, I'm not sure whether, would you be able to summon the report that seems to confirm that there is an organized crime syndicate that's operating in Gauteng when you have that meeting, urgent meeting with the committee, given that amongst other issues, it says that there are 7 MPs that are part of this syndicate amongst other issues. Thank you.
4. Thank you.
Thank you, Moloto. Jason Felix, News 24. I'm partly covered by what Bulelani had asked, but I have one question for Mr. Cameron, and it's just on the way forward or the course of action. There's been a suggestion of a commission of inquiry or some sort of investigation beyond a police level. Who should lead that investigation? Should it be a parliamentary investigation or parliamentary ad hoc committee or parliamentary commission of inquiry? And I'm asking this because ultimately these are criminal matters, and according to the constitution, at least the SAPS is the only institution that is allowed to investigate criminality, even if it is itself. When we have a situation where a commissioner accuses his political principle of corruption and of having gang links. And then just a question to the chairperson on correctional services. There's been a suggestion by the Minister of Correctional Services that we should bring back corporal punishment to I think his words was to reset law and order, especially in prisons and schooling system. What's your view on that? Thank you.
It's Valen Kirtley from Newsroom Africa. It's for Mr. Ian Cameron. In January this year, you reported to Parliament, you noted the closing of the political killings unit and that it was condemned, but it was an opportunity to look at the resourcing within SAPS. Does the committee support a return of the political killings unit? And then the other one, following yesterday's banana bread with your girls, under whose authority did Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi appear in army fatigues alongside masked members with carrying rifles?
All right, that was 5. And then 6.
Good morning. My name is Mzi from Workers World. My question, in fact, I've been covered by the previous speakers, but my question is for the entire cluster. Is it not a concern that there's a group of people and individuals that have taken control of access to state hospitals, especially in Gauteng?
All right, those were the 6 hands. Thank you very much. I don't see any other additional hands from the media, members of the media. Thank you. There is one virtually from the media. Okay.
Good morning. There's one from Elna from Ground Up. What is the current state of the medical parole system, and why are the numbers of approved inmates so low?
Thank you. I think that question will be directed at Chairperson Ramalobeng and Chairperson Mananiso. Thank you very much. Can we start with Chairperson Ramalobeng? The response. Yeah, it's your choice. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Whatever you're comfortable with.
Thank you so much, Mr. Matapo. And thank you so much to the media houses for the questions or clarities that you would have sought. On the parole status, why the number of approval are so low, I think it would be best suited for us to send that query or request to the office of the minister or to the executive, because of the approval of parole lies within his jurisdiction. The NCC does its own process of receiving profiles, and after receiving profiles, they then make a recommendation that goes to the minister, whom, based on that recommendation, it's within his prerogative whether to take the recommendation that the NCC has made or to decline it. And if he does decline, there would be reasons to it, why that. And if he does accept the recommendation that is made by the NCC, equally, there would be reasons why for that. And I think on the budget speech debate last week, the minister would have alluded to this effect. So I think that question would entirely lie on him, on why the approval is so low. I think he made mention about 5 that have been approved, but that clarity, I think, should go straight to him on that basis. And on corporal punishment, a very tricky one. I would want to base a history, Motapo, if I'm allowed, that there have been sequence of events that led to abolishing corporal punishment. And this sequence of events dates from 1997. Largely, it was legal practitioners, or there was a legal milestone in trying to abolish corporal punishment. So it's not something that comes from now. And it's rooted on the basis of Section 10 of the Constitution and Section 28, which speaks to human dignity or human rights and causing any bodily harm to kids or to anyone. What is our view as the Portfolio Committee, or my view? I believe it's in the best interest of whoever's in the executive or whoever's in the government to abide by the constitution of the country. Why has the minister taken a step to say we should perhaps open debates on corporal punishment? We are yet to be taken into confidence, as well as the Portfolio Committee. And I can assure you that tomorrow we do have a Portfolio Committee of Correctional Service from 9:30, and we would probe the minister on what made, why did he make those assertions and what informs them, so that he takes us through that. But what lies with our views across, and I think part of the members of the Portfolio Committee equally have been seized with such questions from media houses. And what we relay, it's our opinions, but it's not a view of the Portfolio Committee. There are other measures that we can try to deal with or come up with alternatively that must deal with overcrowding outside of corporal punishment, especially of those that have less fines or less crimes, that leads to them having a bail of less than 300 rands. And some of this, perhaps we could start a debate or discussion on community service. Those who have less crimes, petty crimes, why not invite them? Or there must be stringent measures to say they must do community service. Community service, cleaning up the streets, our schools, churches, put on more rehabilitative outlined programs that talks to the current challenges we are facing. Issues of overcrowding outside of what you need to introduce. There's an issue of foreign nationals that by introducing this new amendment of the legislation, especially focusing on the Section 73, subsection A and B, on foreign nationals, those who are sentenced around 13,000 rands, if there is that inmate exchange between the executive and other countries on that exchange program, it alleviates around 13,000 foreign nationals that are sentenced to go serve those life sentences in their countries. In dealing with bail issues of less than 300 rands, I've spoken to the form of community services or matter with the justice, especially for awaiting trials that have been awaiting to see a day in court for more than a year or 2 years. The justice system must come into play to try and mitigate the referrals that are made under the 63A and 49G. We have invited the Minister of Justice to come and unpack on that for us. We are just waiting a day from her side and her department, when will they appear before the portfolio committee, to be able to take through the portfolio committee on that instance. Because of that number as well, around 19,000, if it gets to be looked into and taken into, it can also try to ease the tension of overcrowding. State patients that are incarcerated or are remanded in correctional facilities, the Department of Health needs to look into that matter. If you deal with it and they go to where they are supposed to be, it equally speaks to alleviating overcrowding in correctional facilities. So there are a number of matters. These are some that I'm highlighting. There are a number of core issues that are hampering on overcrowding in correctional facilities, but it does not need us to reinvent the wheel of introducing corporal punishment. We need to talk to the current challenges and try to remedy the situation. But you can't say when you're facing this challenge, not deal with it and go and try to introduce something that in its totality needs to go through the legislation. Because if you are saying we must reintroduce it, what happens to schools? Are we saying we must equally reintroduce a corporal punishment to schools, which the Bella Act speaks against? So it's something that we have taken a decision that it's not before the portfolio committee tomorrow, but when the minister comes in and speaks to the remedial action on findings that the AG has highlighted with regards to the department, before he takes us through that, he should be able to take through the portfolio committee what informed this in session and what is the rationale behind this thinking of reintroducing corporal punishment, because of it has mixed messages and it sends a wrong impression outside. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson Mananiso.
Thank you, Mr. Matapo. I would respond to two questions. One is from the first speaker. I think with regards to issues of allegations of yesterday, for us as the Select Committee, it is a grave concern. However, we hope that the President will swiftly respond to that issue as it comes back. That's what I can say. And all of us, we do believe that lawlessness in the sector must be dealt with. That's one thing that I can confirm to you by our portfolio committee or the Select Committee. With regards to the issue that is happening on matters of foreigners using the state hospitals, one can just say that as the chairperson of the Select Committee, any remedy or response that seeks to address challenges that we are facing as a country, if it's not done within the confinements of the law, it is reactionary. So I think whatever that is happening, it actually calls to us as a cluster to move speedily in terms of how do we do our work. As I said when I was making my comments, I said that we are actually advocating that we need to work on an integrated approach that is multi-sectoral and as well that speaks to the ecosystem of governance. So there's a need that all of us as this particular cluster, we need to address that matter with agent it deserves. But anything that happens outside what we know as the law in South Africa is reactionary. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chairperson Cameron, you might need to approach the podium because there is a big screen that is going to obstruct you where you are sitting. Thank you. Yeah, he's got a lot to account for.
Luckily, I'm not wearing my camos today. I don't know if it's too soon to make a joke about it, but Firstly, just in terms of the independent media question there you are. No, it's extremely concerning. In essence, it means that it's totally captured. That's what it comes down to, because it's the very highest echelons of the South African Police Service that form part of this. The fact that it was mentioned that dockets were allegedly removed from one point with a political instruction it's completely, totally and utterly wrong. I'll touch on the political instruction just now when I come back to the disbanding of the political killing task team. In terms of Dr. Guy Lamb's comment, there's quite a bit of truth in it, obviously. I mean, illicit firearms are, in my opinion, totally out of control. If you go and read the latest reports by the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime, you would note the last circular that I read, it was far over 3 million illicit firearms being circulated in the SADC region, which is remarkable. Now, obviously, dynamics in each country is different, so we can't compare it exactly with each other, but it gives you an idea of how big the problem is. I mean, if you look at the shooting that happened last week in Mitchell's Plain, the question keeps coming up, where do the firearms come from? And we very, very often see, and this leads to the question regarding police safeguarding of firearm, that unfortunately many of the firearms seized end up back on the street, and they end up seizing the same one again. Just a few months ago, there was a specific case of, I think it was Cape Town Flying Squad, but I don't have it in front of me now, where I think they seized a firearm somewhere in the Cape Flats that had previously been handed into a SAP 13 store at another station just a few months back. So no, that's also part, I think, of the integrity issue. I think what needs to be considered there as a potential solution in terms of firearm destruction, there's this whole, the holy grail of we can't destroy it too soon because it needs to be linked to something. But, you know, in the majority of cases, many of these firearms that are seized aren't necessarily linked. So why are we storing firearms not linked to a case for longer than 5 or 10 years? And people can argue, yes, but whatever case comes in. But essentially, if you go and visit some of these stations, as we've done with Oversight, there are thousands upon thousands of firearms at certain stations. It poses major security risks. And yeah, so I hope that colors in your question. Then the Eyewitness News question, the Brown Mokgatsi affiliation or potential affiliation will definitely be part of the briefing with the committee. So there's no doubt that will happen. I went and watched the clips again after yesterday, and it's spot on. That's exactly what was said. There is no affiliation. So the minister would need to account for that. We need to have that discussion. And it's important to understand that if it were to be indicated that the minister or whoever else lied to Parliament, that's a criminal offence. And I think, you know, we're going to have a very uncomfortable discussion regarding that. Then just in terms of the committee meeting with the minister, absolutely. Regarding, and I'm going to link it to one of the other questions regarding who plays the oversight role, and I'll come back to it again. But that's one of the reasons we also wrote to the Speaker. The fact that, as one of the chairs also said, that the President is also involved brings a whole set of different dynamics or potential dynamics. So I actually think, and we'll wait for the feedback from the House Chairperson as well as the Speaker, because there could be a broader parliamentary involvement than only the Portfolio Committee. The Select Committee, for example, can play a significant role. So there are quite a few remedies to our disposal. We should have an answer later today. As I said, we wrote last night. I know there were also letters sent this morning. So later today, we should have a more accurate answer. I'll come back to who presides over it just now. Then just in terms of the SABC question, should the minister be suspended? Well, let's look at it from a policing point of view. If a police member has in any way allegedly performed some kind of misconduct, there's usually suspension. Many people always explain it as though it's punitive to that police member, but that's not the reasoning behind it. The reasoning is to protect the integrity of the institution, 1, and 2, of the investigation. Now, if any preliminary investigation indicates any form of political influence from anywhere in the ministry, suspension should be considered, and that is to protect the integrity of the institution and the integrity of the investigation, and that counts for everyone that is potentially implicated. It was then also bordering on lawlessness. That comment broke protocol. So this, to me, I believe in the rule of law, and I believe in due process needing to be followed. And I keep on going back and forth in my mind, because what yesterday showed me was a massive frustration with the fact that action is never taken or hardly ever taken. And my question is that if General Mkhwanazi simply went and opened a case, can any of us comfortably say that that would have been investigated? And unfortunately, I can't say that. Now, should we not follow due process or not allow the rule of law to prevail? No, we have to, because we've got to set a higher standard in how we conduct ourselves. But with the frustration with the criminal justice system, it really has become apparent that it seems that you have to every time kick up a fuss or fight for something to actually change. And that leads me to the question regarding the summoning the actual report mentioned by the PC. Absolutely. As much as we can possibly get our hands on, we will. Obviously, again, if something is sub judice, we don't want to influence the criminal procedure in any way. But in terms of us understanding the dynamics of this thing, we have to. It's a totally unprecedented moment. I don't know about you, but I've never seen something like this happen. And yeah, we'll have to do everything we can to understand every detail. I just want to jump to a question in terms of whose authority acted on the Newsroom Africa question, and then also the closing of the political killings task team. Under whose authority? According to me, he made it clear yesterday that the National Commissioner knew of the press conference that he was holding. So I understood that it would be under the authority. I don't know if he granted every single piece of what was said, but he knew there was a press conference. Where General Mkhwanazi, in my opinion, is 100% correct, is he does not answer to the minister in terms of the command structure. He answers to the National Commissioner. And I want to make this very, very clear, because over the years, we've seen politicians become generals and all sorts of very interesting appointments as national commissioners. And I think it's blurred the lines, where even after politicians that didn't come through the ranks remain generals, it creates confusion as to the actual command structure of the South African Police Service. No minister or political appointment in the ministry or any other political office for that matter has operational say over the South African Police Service. It's like me thinking that we're some kind of quasi police unit that can investigate certain matters. I can't. I don't have that authority. I'm not a police officer, and I'm not going to act like I'm one. So it's just important for me to actually underscore that in terms of the command structure, nothing that was said there is wrong in terms of him reporting to the National Commissioner. That is correct. That leads me to the question about the political killings task team. The instruction was given, you'd remember a few months ago, that it must be dismantled. There were several discussions about it. I know it was moved to the Deputy National Commissioner. We've all heard what was said. The explanation that was given to the Police Portfolio Committee was that why should we have a special task team while there are so many other different kinds of serious crime? Why is this special? Why can't it just be investigated as crime in general? That's one of the explanations that we got. Yeah, do I approve of it? I would like to first actually see the evidence of what General Mkhwanazi said yesterday about how well it performed. Now, when we previously asked the question, we saw a lot of explanation of how well they did perform and successes that they got. But at the same time, there are many people that spoke out about the abuse by that specific unit and things that they did wrong. To be honest with you, sometimes it feels like I'm watching tennis as the implications and allegations come in that I don't know who to believe anymore. So during this inquiry process, we would need to see what that evidence is to understand better about it. If I'm not mistaken, there's a specific murder sentencing happening today that was due to a case that was investigated by the political killings task team, and that person is being sentenced today, if I'm not mistaken. I'll check the detail shortly. The last 2 or 3 questions, in terms of, Jason, your question of the who runs the process, that's part of the advice that we will hopefully also get from Parliament. In terms of the committee, we will definitely engage in that discussion with the minister and the said persons. There's no doubt that we will go ahead with that. And who would preside? Well, I think if there's a commission, an urgent commission or ad hoc commission of some kind, I think it would be important that it is an ex-judge or an independent individual of that kind that needs to preside over it. I know there was a meeting this morning with certain officials at Parliament. It was during this media briefing regarding certain processes and remedies to our disposal. So we'll communicate on that as soon as we can. To me, it is critical that we have an independent kind of authority or person that can preside over this process. I don't have the trust, unfortunately, that internally it will be done fairly and without interference. Then I think that's it. The firearms, I got it, unless there are more questions about it. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Cameron. Members of the media, any other questions? Know that there's one question, which one? That was forwarded to me and is directed at the Honorable Chairperson of Correctional Services in the National Assembly. There have been repeated calls for amendments to parole legislation following instances of parolees who have been arrested for reoffending. Any plans to put pressure on the minister to finalize this process immediately? That is one question. Zalin?
Hi, Moloto Zalin from SABC. I'd like to hear from Mr. Cameron. Did you reach out to the minister yesterday? And do you think that there's reason for General Mkonazi to fear for his life?
Question, thank you. Any other question from the media? Okay, we will answer those questions and then we'll close the part on media engagement. Thank you very much. Maybe start with the Honorable Cameron.
So no, I did not reach out to the minister. I don't want any form of interference or premature discussion or anything like that. So no, I have not. I know, and then just in terms of the second one, I think General Mkonazi is likely aware of any potential risk regarding what happened yesterday. I know he's got a very competent team from what I saw during our oversight a few months ago in KZN that also assist in the relevant protection. And I also think he is quite capable of also defending or looking after himself. One thing that I forgot to mention earlier was the question regarding the uniform, the camos and the balaclavas, the masks that they were wearing. All of the members standing there, from what I know, are Special Task Force members. So that is Special Task Force uniform. And the members in the blue uniforms are wearing National Intervention Unit, if I'm not mistaken, uniforms. In terms of his uniform, In terms of any form of regulation, there's nothing wrong with him wearing that. I understand the questions regarding optics, but he earned that uniform, and it's well known in police circles that once you've earned it, no one can take it away from you. And especially regarding the special task force, I think it is an absolutely honorary position to be in, to be able to even get close to that uniform. So there was no, in my opinion, any transgression of any kind for the uniforms that were worn. I think the debate of what statement was being made by wearing certain uniforms would be a whole other debate. So, yeah.
Thank you very much, Honorable Cameron. Honorable Ramolobeng.
Thank you so much, Mr. Matapo. And for the questions on, I think mine it's one, I would equally would like to also, I think I forgot to also report on the medical parole outside of the parole process that I would have responded to a journalist that would have asked on the virtual platform. On the repeated calls for amendment on the parole, there is a process that the portfolio committee has entered into with the minister, and the minister would have also made calls to overhaul the whole parole system or process to check whether the current settings or setup are they yielding results and they should, and if they're not, how do we tighten that process? So there has been a meeting between the portfolio committee and the minister to talk to the parole system or to review it in that instance. And however, unfortunately, I was not around on that day when the portfolio committee had that meeting because I was on sick leave, but there was that indication, and based on the reports and the minutes, there is an agreement to review the process, especially towards 2025 in September, ultimately to 2027, to see if the current system of parole is yielding results, and if it is, if it's not, how do we remedy the situation? So there is pressure that the portfolio committee is putting to the minister, but however, equally, the minister has made that undertaking himself after he has inherited the bulk of profiles that he would have received. So this became a mutual undertaking between the portfolio committee and the minister in this instance. And based on the medical parole, which was the question that was asked, the medical parole for lifers between the 3rd of July, 2024 to the 25th of July, which is 2025 this year. And this is for lifers. A total applications which were received were 16. And amongst those 16, only 3 were approved or considered. And 13 of those were not approved. And this is a consideration again that is before the minister. So the Medical Parole Board would make a recommendation, the same as the NCC in this instance, and submit their recommendation to the minister. Then the minister either approves or does not approve. So in this instance, for lifers, it was 13 and 3 of those have been approved. And medical parole for those who are not serving as lifers, which are offenders, the 1st of April, 2024 to the 31st March 2025, a total of 29 medical parole applications were received, which were done by the Correctional Supervision and Parole Board, and 29 of those which were received, 23 were approved, which 6 were not approved. So I think for much more detailed report for those who would require it, we can provide that. Raja would assist in providing that detailed report, which I was reading, or you can seek that through also the office of the minister. I think they would have much more detailed one because they would be receiving them from time to time from the medical board, Parole Board, equally from the NCC. So those were the questions. The medical aid one, Mr. Matapo, it was the one that I didn't answer the first time on the first set of questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairpersons and members of the media for the questions and for comprehensive responses. So this brings to a close the first part of this engagement of relating to the media engagement. And if the media wishes to leave the room, you are free to do so, to go and file your stories and so on and so forth. So we would like, then the second part is that of stakeholder engagement. And we thank sincerely various organizations, civil society organizations, NGOs, all the sectors that are represented who have got interest in crime prevention issues, safety and security, justice and constitutional development, and correctional services. And I know that there are a lot of questions that will be coming, but I would like to advise that if questions have already been asked in the first part of this engagement, you don't need to repeat those questions. And secondly, that we confine ourselves to the issues of crime prevention, safety and security, justice and constitutional matters, and correctional services. Other issues, you know that we engage with you every second week. There will be issues of education, will be issues of health, there will be issues, of digital and all those issues. So we'll deal with them and we'll dedicate a special time for that. So I'm going to take the first. Let me start from this side. I'm just going to allocate you the numbers and then you will follow that particular number. And then when you ask question, you just give your name and the organization that you are representing. Thank you very much. Just keep your hands up until I have allocated you the number and we'll follow those numbers. You will be the first one. Yes, and then you take it down. You'll be the second. You'll be the fourth there. You'll be the third. Yes. You'll be the third and then you will be the fourth. And then this side, so this side we are done. And then this side, when this you will be the fifth. Are you the fifth? Fifth, 5, yeah. And then you will be the 6th. And then the next row, you'll be the 7th, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So you will be 17, 18. So you'll be the last one. So because as we can see, there are many hands that have gone up, which we appreciate. We'll ask that just in less than 2 minutes, ask the question so that the chairpersons can be able to put those questions down and respond to them. Please, let's not make a long commentary. Let's just ask a question and then we give the next one an opportunity. So that way we'll be done. Otherwise, if we give commentary and so on, we're going to finish here midnight. Okay? So in that order, please, let's 1 minute question and then you give the next one the opportunity to do so. In that order. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ndota Nahadebe. I'm the National Deputy Chairperson of Civil Society and Media Coalition. I had so many questions, but they are covered with the media. But my serious question is to Mr. Cameron. Given the last time I saw you, the first time you were with the Minister Peggy and you were very vocal on crime. Now in the Western Cape, a lot of crime has happened. There's so much mass killings. We are all sitting, I live in Woodstock, which is a very safer area. But when I look in the Cape Flats, every time I open my phone or news, there is a mass killing just happened. So you as a committee, what are you doing to intervene in this situation? Because it cannot go on, because it is a disaster. We look at it, even people from outside my province end up asking me, what are you doing as civil society? So my question is, what have you done as the chairperson? Because you seem to be very vocal in that moment, that time. But now we don't, when you're in parliament, we don't see that vocal anymore. Can that be clarified? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I was actually timing you. You were about to exceed 1 minute. Thank you for that discipline. The next one.
Damaris Kiewitz from the University of the Western Cape. 2 questions. The military veterans, are everyone included in the military veterans, or is it just the MK that is still reaping the benefits of the military veterans? Then crime intelligence, Mr. Cameron, serious challenge in the Western Cape. We don't even know who the boss of crime intelligence is in the Western Cape. So how will we combat crime and look at Mitchell's Plain? The silence is deafening. Our constitutional right to safety is compromised. Is it time we call for an amendment of the Bill of Rights? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You did it in 40 seconds. Appreciate it. Thank you. Third.
Good morning. The question is addressed to the Honourable Cameron. My name is Sean Tate. I'm from the African Civilian Policing Oversight Forum. The question relates to the issues raised by Mr. Cameron and our understanding that a lot of those challenges are exacerbated by a police act that is no longer fit for purpose. It is still written in terms of the interim constitution. We know that from the legacy report, a new police act is a priority. And the question is whether this is being addressed by the committee. When the amendment was first tabled, there were significant gaps. First of all, it did not take into account the numerous dialogues that were held by the committee around the detectives and the reinvigoration of detectives, whether this will be drawn into a new legislation. Secondly, it did not make any mention of a legislative framework for crime intelligence. The Constitution demands that every intelligence service is subject to its own specific legislative framework. Crime intelligence has yet to have its legislation. And the last point is that the National Development Plan makes provision for a National Police Board, which is supposed to provide an independent oversight and input into issues around recruitment, training, and promotion of police officers. Again, the previous Police Act didn't make any mention of the establishment of the National Police Board, and I was wondering whether this was in any way part of the agenda of the committee going forward. The final point, sir, is that at the tabling of the Police Amendment Act a few years ago, the committee voiced concerns as to the capacity of the Civilian Secretariat of Police to be able to effect this legislative drafting and urged that this capacity be improved. In preparation for the amendment to the Police Act, and we would advocate that a new act be written, it is simply impossible to keep patching what is already an unworkable piece of legislation. But the question would be, whether is the legislative capacity of the Civilian Secretariat of Police, has it been addressed or is it being addressed? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hand number 4.
Hi there, my name is Bradley Stein. I'm just a concerned citizen. My question is for Chairman Ian Cameron. In light of the extraordinary braveness shown yesterday by General Nakhlala Mkhwanazi, a highly respected Special Task Force member who publicly exposed corruption and systemic failures within SAPS, I wish to ask the following urgent questions under your portfolio on policing. Given that due process no longer exists within SAPS, and people go to the police station and lay a charge or just get a police number for insurance purposes. And that's the main reason why people go to the police today. What measures are currently being put in place, if any, to ensure now the safety and the protection of whistleblowers like Nahlala? And we've seen this pattern before. General Vieri, when he turned around and he said Murala for exposing corruption, what happened to Vieri? What happened to General Lincoln? The same thing. We've been talking about this for a very long time. I just want to know, as a concerned citizen, as a veteran, what are we going to do? And then does the portfolio committee on police have the political will and backbone to hold President Cyril Ramaphosa and his executives accountable for the broken structure within our national security environment in our country? President Ramaphosa has taken the intelligence structure into the office of the presidency, and now we find under his leadership crime intelligence broken, the very fundamental essence to fighting crime in this country. So my question is, are we just going to keep talking, or are we actually going to start holding these leaders accountable? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Hand number 5, this side.
President of African Religious and Traditional Leaders Council, to Mr. Cameron and to Correctional Service. Mr. Cameron, we are afraid now because almost every day there are memorial services of gun-related matters, whether political or not. Number 2, Mr. Cameron, if the police that are intelligence are involved in this, when you speak about suspension, are you referring to General Khumalo? Why not expulsion? If Cindy Somakaka was killed by a gun that was provided by a policeman, are we still safe in our country? And the breaking news almost every day that government official is implicated in these things. Somebody said to me, the statistics say that church is almost 60% leading in terms of crime. But I can say now, no, government is leading, not the church. We as church members who are dealing with our own members, if the evidence is provided. To the correctional services, Madam, we are still not happy about the special treatment what was done to Omotoso by your department. In the first time of his prison serving, we had to go and take the keyboard, that is the musical instrument. And we are not explained why is he deported, not facing the music. As a religious leader and a clergy, same applies to Bushiri. They must come and clear their name so that they can occupy the spiritual pulpit. If your name is not clear, so we don't regard you as one of us until your name is clear.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop. Hand number 6. You will see that if you, ideally, I will prefer that you ask a question in 1 minute, but if you exceed 2 minutes, I give you until 2 minutes, and if you exceed 2 minutes, I stop you. Okay. 6.
Yeah. Good morning. I'm from Organization Column of Independence. I want to greet all the leadership media houses chairpersons. I've got one question for our Honorable our leader Jane, that is in the Home Affairs Department. Our people are sleeping on the doorsteps of Home Affairs offices while we have a job shortage. Is there a possibility that you can create a night shift or maybe 3 shifts? Because I mean, there's a demand for ID documents, birth certificates, and to Mr. Ian Cameron. Why is it so difficult to get firearm licenses when you apply as a business owner or ordinary citizen to protect us from these hooligans with illegal firearms selling by the police, corrupt officials, while they're killing us for money? And to Mr. Ian Cameron again, the third one and final one, the CPF of the Bishop Lavis area, they are so useless. I would like you to come and look into the CPFs because they're not doing their work as community policing forum. They're walking around, getting paid for doing nothing and adding no policing to the Bishop Lavis communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. 7.
Thank you very much.
7.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you raise your hand?
Isn't it after him?
Did you raise your hand before? Did they allocate you a number? You didn't?
Yes, I'm after.
7.
Oh, 12.
Yeah. 7.
Thank you, Mr. Mutabo. My name is Zamukolo Mfihlo from the Gugulethu CPF. I would like to ask the question to the Honorable Cameron. I was laughing in this morning because last week on Wednesday, when I was speaking with the NCA, talking about the acting station commanders in Gugulethu for many years. And this morning I hear that we've got a new station commander that has been employed permanently. My question is that, as a Gugulethu from 2011 had the people of about 28,498 in 2011, and we've got the sector commanders that are 4 in the low ranks. Some of them are constable, and some of them are what you call. But those the policemen that are policing in Gugulethu about plus minus 300 houses. And those policemen, they don't have enough resources. When we are talking about Gugulethu, there's only one thing you will hear, that we don't have enough resources. I'm saying this because of in 2 weeks back, there were 7+1 men that have been gunned down by the 2 men that have been released in prison. When they go back to Gugulethu, they just do the mess by gun down in Kanana, and one on the way. It has been 8. Now I'm coming to you, Mr. Cameron, asking about the Gugulethu that has been many years waiting for the new police stations. Until today, when you hear about that building, they're still renting. So you find the Gugulethu people, even today, no one wants to testify because they feel that end of the day, because of the lack of the resources of Gugulethu, no one is safe. No one wants to come out and saying whatever is happening in our area. So what can be done to make sure that the people of Gugulethu are safe? Because the Gugulethu today is not like 10 years or 20 years back. We've got a massive of people. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. 8.
Bronwyn Moore from Community Cohesion and representing civil society. I have a general question mainly to Parliament. Everybody in this room also has deadlines. We're all giving up time from our work, actually servicing clients on the ground who are victims of violence and crime. I'm questioning giving the media permission to leave, or actually almost asking them to leave, when the people sitting opposite them are the ones who are actually dealing with the issues that are happening on a political level. On the ground, we are doing the work, but the media is gone because they're going to write a political headline. So I'm questioning that.
No, okay, all right, okay. Let's correct that. We did not ask the media to leave. We said that the media, normally, the media has got deadlines. That's why we start with their questions. And then they ask questions, and then we ask them if they need to leave, they can do so. All right, so there is one member of the media who did not leave. She was seated here, but she left afterwards. So we don't exclude the media. The media is part of this. This event is being followed and covered on YouTube, on Parliament TV. So it is going out there. So it is not correct to say that we have kicked out the media. The media does not get kicked out anyway. So can you ask the question?
My question is not that you kick the media out. My question is the clear definition between the media, who clearly have jobs to do, and all of us sitting here who also have jobs to do. Our time is equally valuable, and I think a lot of us would appreciate the media hearing from us on the ground. So it's a question about the separation, perhaps. I'm not saying, I didn't say at all that you kicked them out.
All right.
It's that the media also hears the voice of civil society beyond ground up.
All right. Thank you very much. We will revisit the manner in which, but you know, we deliberately start with the media because their questions are fewer. They are, as you would have seen, very few hands. But when it comes to stakeholders, it's quite a lot of hands. But we will revisit that in the light of your proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. And I think next time, rather, we have a separated between media and stakeholders. That will be a good one so that we know we're in having a clear two agendas. Chair, my name is Ludwig Ngomo from Elite Alabantu. I'm a stakeholder coordinator. Two things, Chair. One, we must protect Mkwanas. We must protect Mkwanas, whether we like it or not. Because if it was not General Mkwanas, we won't know what is happening in SEPS. Secondly, we must protect Ms. Honorable Member Ian Cameron. Unfortunately, we are going to be biased as a civic society because himself is coming from civic society. He's a neutral person we have ever seen in the portfolio committee of police. Someone who knows the ground, who has been there. We are created to be seen currently now by Mr. Mkwanas that we are having a politicians who are mafias. They have been there. They have been hiding. But Mkwanas is opening the eyes to us that we are having a corrupt institution on part of the security. And in fact, we must question the legitimacy of our national commissioner, even himself. Not that the national commissioner were not aware of these criminals that are taking place there. I just want also to highlight one thing. If we can go back to the corporate punishment, we won't know what we were fighting for. Because the reason we abolish corporate punishment, particularly in schools, is because of the educators who were taking advantage of that in terms of making sure they are dealing and they are making sure that when it comes to corporate punishment, it's a political thing. It's a political agenda. The minister will wake up tomorrow in the morning and say that corporate punishment must come back. He must know he's going to deal with this young generation because there was an agenda behind abolishing corporate punishment. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Number 10. And we will revisit the issue of separating both the stakeholders and the media. Because so that but the idea, the reason why we separated them, we got a complaint from the media that when we combine you, they spend a long time here, we finish around 3. So they are complaining that they don't have sufficient time to file their stories. So that's why we wanted to get rid of them first, so that we can have a quality time with the stakeholders, with your good selves. But we do take that
So you wanted to spend quality time with us? I know.
We want to spend that quality time with you, and we are doing
With
it.
civil society. No, you're brave, eh? But yeah, Chair,
The Constitution requires us to do so. We don't have a choice.
no, thank you, Chair.
Thank you very
You know, the revelations of what actually took place yesterday could easily just, cause a lot of chaos in the country, specifically with the level of distrust that is already, that's already there within the country, specifically on our criminal justice system. And, sitting here, I wanted to also go on a rant with all of that, but I had to sit down and write my questions so that I don't go beyond all of that. So I want to say, given the persistent policy and implementation gaps that continue to undermine the response to gender-based violence and femicide, including inconsistent sentencing, inadequate police training, and poor coordination across the criminal justice system, what specific measurable steps will this cluster take over the next 6 months to ensure that the proper implementation of the National Strategic Plan on GBVF, particularly Pillar 3, which speaks on justice, safety, and protection, particularly in communities with higher rates of violence? Sad enough, whenever the crime statistics are released every single quarter, they almost mirror each other. And this speaks directly to the systemic gaps which have that we have been highlighting over the years. How will you ensure that these commitments finally translate into meaningful change on the ground? And how will you then report to us in a most transparent manner, particularly for organizations within the community and the community themselves? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we are now 12, ne? 12, yes.
This is number.
I allocated you 12. I mean 11. So I thought that we were now 12. You are 10. Okay, and then you are 11. You didn't record your.
I'm Siabulela Monagali from Elite Kalabanto.
We must record you for the record. 12.
Thank you very much. I really like the theme, deepening the values of peace, justice, safety, and security. So my question to the designated chairpersons of the different portfolios would be the following. What hope should I have when every institution tasked with protection has chosen to participate in violations? Now, I rise today not in celebration, but in lament. Not to ask for recognition, but to bear witness everything that Mr. Cameron has been saying. I am His Majesty King Kukudogoro Naikona I, a voice born of bloodlines denied, a spirit descended from Krotoa's brilliance, and a living archive of heritage that this country consumes without ever honoring. My face has been displayed on the walls of Parliament, splashed across Western Cape government platforms, paraded in the front pages of the Burger, not in reference, but in exploitation. My identity was seized, repurposed, reframed, not with my consent and not with truth. Even more cruelly, the name of my great-grandmother, sacred in our lineage, was used in films and academic publications without our blessing, a violation dressed as research, a theft wrapped in tribute. Now, I've brought today my affidavit affirming a lineage buried for political convenience. My book documented our stolen memory. It's actually called Broken Souls. It was Mr. Chowki in the Parliamentary Library. My proclamation, that is what the government cassette, asserting indigenous sovereignty against systemic denial. And this speech, written not in hope, but in sorrow. Because I was unlawfully detained, first and foremost, my identity misused, my finances emptied, those entrusted with upholding the law colluded to undermine it, pretending to represent me while conspiring to silence me. My property was withheld and a ransom demanded for its return. Legal robbery sanctioned by silence. I walk into courts, not as a criminal, but as a man seeking truth. And still I was treated like an intruder. Security guards demanded my legal papers as though they were lawyers. Registrars dismantled my filings. Judges heard ex parte motions without my presence, and those who opposed me afforded privilege, walking freely into chambers, obtained orders without challenge, and emerged with paperwork that bound my life without consultation.
Okay. Yeah. Can you conclude if there is a
It's not the
question?
2 minutes, sir. I've been counting that.
No. It's
I
here.
actually revised the speech for 2 minutes.
Yeah. Look. You see, you have exceeded it by 30
So
seconds.
would it be official?
Let me give you 30 seconds to conclude.
What I would do is the following, just to save time for
Yeah, you can give
everyone.
us the speech.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah,
That would
yeah,
be
we really
I will just
appreciate
sign it and I'll give
Yeah.
it to you. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. That's very progressive. You see. Really appreciate it. 13. 12.
Hello. I was number 12.
We're number 12. Okay.
Afternoon to everyone. My name is Azan Dandiso from the Guguletu Community Police Forum. I heard Ms. Chairperson, Ms. Jane, speaking about encouraging the community in participating in all these issues that were spoken about today. And one of the things I would like to raise is that from my experience in the community, it is not the community that has a problem with engaging and supporting the structures or the entities in government. It is from the other side. We had a recent case whereby one of the culprits or accused was arrested for 2 years and released. But when we received information from the province, it was very different from the information that we received from the community. Now we are supposed to encourage the community to engage and be witnesses in crimes in the community, yet there is no trust from the SAP side. The province told us completely different information about the case. And now we need, as the CPF, to go back to the community and say, this is what happened during the case and account to them on information that is not quite accurate. So when Ms. Jane spoke about the support and making sure that everyone has a hand in solving these matters, however, us not being able to get the accurate information, I think that's the problem. And the communication breakdown between the entities, because our station commander in Guguletu had no idea that there was a release that happened. We heard from a community engagement that we were hosting. We were hosting a community engagement to unpack the justice system, and one of the members said the person has been released. So I think that's where now it becomes a huge problem in the community. So my question is, what changes can be made to make sure that the communication is flowing within the entities and the community, and there is a support system for the community? Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Matapo.
Number 13.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Matapo, honorable members. My name is Queen Belinda. I'm the living embodiment of the coat of arms. I'm a Hottentot woman. 3 months ago, Chairperson, Mr. Ian Cameron and Ms. Manonisa, I've laid 3 months ago, I've laid charges of cyber crimes against Minister Gayton McKenzie. Him and the honorable member, his name is Wambaiza Fiskop, he called me a hoer on Facebook. They called me a hoer and they splashed my name all over social media. I didn't even attack them one time. I've laid a charge at Manenberg Police Station. Up until today, he has not been arrested and apprehended.
I went to Athlone Court. They said they need a stick of the video. I sent it. Justice delayed is justice denied. The justice system has failed me. If I was a white woman in South Africa and laid a charge, where would Minister Caitlin McKenzie be today? That's my first question. The second one is the eviction that happened on the 11th of January 2025 with the King Khoisan at the Union Buildings. My apologies, I'm just too emotional. He had an accident on the 10th of January 2025. His wife succumbed of her injuries. This government stepped up and showed the First Nation people that they will evict them. They've sent a strong message to the First Nation people that we will send wrong names on that eviction order and we will forcefully and shamelessly remove the Khoisan people. Today, where is the justice? Where names and surnames needs to be on proper documentation from court systems. The king has lost 40,000 per indigenous paintings, valuables that was at the Union Buildings. Where's the restoration in this? We've pleaded with government, please restore us, come and assist, help, let's speak and come to the table. Up until today, the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, is ignoring our cries. When is the foot of the President and this government will come off the neck of the First Nation people? I am so sick and tired. I am shivering inside of all the injustice that is happening to our First Nation people. Justice delayed is justice denied. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Queen Belinda. Some of the issues that you are raising, because they don't relate to the issues relating to this committee's work, we will record them and then pass them to the appropriate committees. Thank you very much, Queen. Number 14.
14, yeah. Good afternoon, everybody.
14.
It's me.
14 is here. 14. Hmm? Yes. So.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen.
My questions is very short, sir.
You allocated a number?
Yes, my hand was up.
No. Let's be orderly. We've been doing very well up to so far. So we just follow.
I hope I'm
the
going to get the chance to raise my questions, please, sir.
Let's follow the numbers that we have allocated.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody that is here.
Can that mic go off? Thank you.
Time is very limited. To the Minister there of Releasing, why do you have IPID and you have the police ombudsman? Two different entities, but they're actually doing quite nothing. Can't they be merged together? Once again, IPID is being run by police officers. It gets reported to the minister. So I see IPID as a whole covering up story to cover up the crimes that the police officers commit. The other part is where laws are being selectively applied, as they've stated, the ANC with their beautiful constitution, just a piece of paper, but got no value. They got the PI Act, but the Khoi people is living for more than 2-3 years on a piece of land, and then all of a sudden they come and get evicted, they get destroyed, and then they use as red ants. Where is the justice in that, where the police is not even fit enough to do their own dirty work and use other entities to do it? I know it is unfair on your office because you've been given this post recently after the ANC has destroyed, messed up, corrupt everything to the hell, and now you must stand and face the community basically for the corruption that they have caused, for the lack of implementation, like that lady say, the lack of policing. And then also, sir, I don't want to be a racist, man. Please don't see it as racist. You cannot go to a police station in Philippi where the majority dominant is Khoi people and so-called confused coloreds. And then they tell you at the end of the day, you don't have a phone. You don't have a cell phone, so you can't lay a case. You don't have an ID, so you can't lay a case. And this is the manner in which they are bringing down crime statistics. Where is the duty detectives that's supposed to be at the station and not at the malls and not sitting themselves drunk and smashing these cars where they can docket and get these people processed and out. It does not mean that you have to lay for 48 hours. Get that in the police officer's head. You must be out of there before 48 hours. So in that period, sir, I really want to bring this to your attention, and I applaud you. I laid in the Philippi cells, you know, women lay cases for nothing to get their things done. I was a victim of that. The case was then told that we're going to withdraw the case. We're trying to get hold of the investigating officer, one of the biggest scalums in Philippi, the biggest scalum detective. He charged me 1,500 the Monday to be released. I was not sent to court. I lay that 48 hours. I was not sent to court. I was taken to my house to go and gather some money by my friends, which amount to the amount of 700 rand to be released. I immediately went to the Hawks. They actually came back for their balance. They came back for their balance, man. I'm not gonna stop you. Okay, hang on.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring this across to that man.
Yeah.
He's trying to do a job. He's trying to fight corruption, and we're not going to have a few minutes set aside for that. These gentlemen was then in a disciplinary hearing. Both of them got fired. There was no leg for them to stand on. They then appeared. They are now currently in regional court, Wynberg, on corruption. But like the gentleman said, we got two accused, two police officers. The one is an ex-police officer and the other one was reinstated. He's accused number one. He's the one that initiated the money. He's the one that took the money, but he's back in his job. So how much I feel on the road now? We, like that lady say, Google to wherever you stick your neck out and you'll get killed. I'm scared of the police like hell. I'm scared because I was told, sorry for my language, no, like you don't, we're gonna fucking kill you. Hey, I got a docket where my place was vandalized. The investigating officer, there's not enough a page in that docket. That docket is just so flat. He should be charged with defeating the ends of justice. But he's being protected by his brothers. And this all comes down to BEE, where there is not enough definition of each and every representation. We got tribalism in the police, where they will not act against their people. I was told that we live in a certain community in Transkei. I cannot act because otherwise my family is in danger. What the hell is that? At the end of the day, I would really like the people that is in charge, like that idiot station commander, a captain, Blau out in Woolsley, that allows in his presence how the Khoi woman must be dragged, hit with policies by security officers, and you cannot lay a case against them. We really need to stop this, man. So it's pointless having all this Mickey Mouse committees and meetings and interaction, but nothing gets done. There is not a political will. It's only now that that gentleman is coming from the ground. He sees it and he knows what he's talking about, while other people is living in their luxury and they do not know what the hell is going on, where you are forced to be aligned with people in your community because the police is sitting at the malls. The police is driving their family around. The detectives got a family car for the weekend on our expense.
All right.
We need to charge the station commanders. They need to be criminally charged. And why do you want to go such a long way for all these corrupt people? Get the officer that's duly appointed under Section 42 of the Criminal Procedure Act, makes him a peace officer. He can then arrest any person. But where do we have to start? We'll have to start with that corrupt president. Where is his mouth on this matter? He is quiet because he appointed that people from a certain rank. The president signs your appointment certificate. So that is his gang of robbers and crooks, which is he is the leader of it. Hy is die grootste 26 in die Kaap.
That is noted, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Number 15. 15.
That's me?
Yes.
Okay. John Johnson, Prime Minister of the United Sovereign Cape Kingdom. First of all, I want to say that I do take my hat off for the provincial minister, provincial commissioner, Natlantla Kwanase, for what he did yesterday. At least there's one of the few that stood up against this corruption in this country. And then the question was asked earlier on about how many cases by the chairperson Cameron. It's 612 cases that the political killing task team has opened up, and 128 of the accused were sentenced, and it's still ongoing. Now, my questions come to got the Ms. Komotso. Just a question, do you guys ever ascertain the skills that those prisoners who comes in, because it can be used to improve or repair the infrastructure of your jails and stuff like that, okay? And then for Ms. Jane, you spoke about the missions abroad. My question to you is, why was there a discrepancy in payment among SND, SADC countries? That's for you. And then for Mr. Ian Cameron, I put in SAPS, same minister. Don't you think it's a conflict of interest? And then the last one, Mitchell's Plain, 18 deaths over this weekend, a war zone. And you don't even see the minister anywhere close. No action plan. What do you think we should do about this? And I thank you.
Thank you very much. 16.
Is it now afternoon or what? Good afternoon, everybody. Trust that you all are well. I'm Senior Paramount Chief Connor Cornelius Botha V. In 2001, and I'm going to talk to everybody because I don't want to mention certain names in certain, then for me, it's about peace and security cluster. So I'm talking to the three. You know what? In 2021, I was having a meeting with SAPS National and Provincial. I give them a solution. Give our people back for us. You see, because the politicians and the foreigners and the colonizers don't have an appetite to protect our people. The other day when Trump, had Rupert, the hero of South Africa, when he fooled everybody there to talk about the killings in the Western Cape, if he is a man with something up here or a heart, he was supposed to come in long time ago and said, people, can't we do something? Not go and brag there how we care for the people of the Cape Flats. It's rubbish, man. You can only say that if you, from your side, have to do something to help people. I feel that the peace and security cluster is captured. And I told them in 2021, 45 station commanders in one room, I challenged them. I said to them, you are the drug lords. You are. I faced them in one room. And everybody in the Department of Justice, if you are not doing your work, you are the same. Because what are you doing there? What are you for there? Just for pay? Just tell us. Then we can do our own work. I salute Mr. Cameron for his role that he's playing. But I want to come and say, I think South Africa has come to a point where we are sick and tired of a government that wants to hold safety and security in their hands, but even pray that tomorrow morning all our people are killed in the Cape Flats because they do nothing about it. And the last one is, Mr. Cameron, it's time that we need to address that with an independent police force, not an association associated with politics and whoever, so that we can deal with the culprits immediately. Amaze.
Thank you. That's the last one.
No, I'm sorry. I'm the last one. I was number 6.
The last one.
You lost number along the way.
Number 17.
Number 17 is me, sir.
Sorry, sir. We are following the numbers.
Okay. He's now 18. So he's now 18.
I'm number 17.
No. Let's I respect traditional leadership. That's why, okay, can we listen to each other? I'm saying that I respect traditional leadership.
Good afternoon.
That's why I'm giving, when I'm saying I'm allocating 2 minutes, I ended up allocating 5 minutes, 8 minutes, because I don't want to stop you because you are going to fight with me. But don't also take my job and start allocating additional numbers to additional hands. Okay. Can number 17, you are number 17, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can do it in 2 minutes, I would really appreciate it.
Good afternoon, everyone in the house. My first question is to Mrs. Ramalobeng. You mentioned rehabilitation and integration and the cost involved. It is not working. It is not working at all. We all know. I suppose by now you must know that too. That the rehabilitation programs that are being presented or in prison, it is not working, because when these people are released from prison, they can't find work because this very same government has got institutions in place, whereas when you apply for a job, they want to know if you're an ex-convict, if you have a police clearance, how will these people ever find a job? So these correctional service leaders over there, I know what they endure to try to assist the community, the society of crime in prison. They try their very best, but when that person is released, he did this program and that program, all their hard work is totally in vain, because there's no company that will give them employment because it's got a criminal record. My second question is also very sweet, and so this is to Mrs. Vandeniso. We have so many army camps where people are just sitting there. The government must maintain them. It costs a lot of money. Here we're sitting in Mitchell's Plain. You know what? Apartheid was bad, and I'm not trying to badmouth it. When what happened in Mitchell's Plain recently, where so many people has died because of gunfire, the apartheid government would have had the army in. What is stopping this government? Is it because colored lives and Khoi lives doesn't matter? Thank you. My last question is for Mr. Cameron. I'll be very short, please. Mr. Cameron, I have so much respect for you because on the issue of firearms resurfacing, I congratulate you on that. Because in this government, they are too scared to mention that. Because the same gun has been confiscated now, and tomorrow, that gun that were in that police station ends up in Belhar. It kills another person. It goes via a circle. Who are the killers? Not the gangsters. It is the police. And I apologize for those policemen that are sincere in doing their job. We hate police. We are scared of police because they are the real murderers. And I thank you.
Yeah, no. On that note, thank you very much. We have now covered all the hands that were raised. I
think I was the last one, sir. Protocols observed, number 18. Okay.
No, I allocated the hands up to 18, up to 17, not 18. Yeah, up to 17, because I was taking, look, there are a lot of issues we have to agree. And this is not the first and the last time that I'm sure some of you, I know you were here, the members of the First Nation communities, you were here. And you know that this is ongoing. It's ongoing discussion. These are matters of national importance. And that are some of them are very complex. And together, working with Parliament and yourself, we are certain that we are going to make a dent and resolve those problems. Working together, because this is your Parliament. And it is always doors, its gates, always open to you. I'm sure you know that even when you come in, no one asks you what you are here for. You just come in here and sit with your leaders, the representatives that you have elected to represent you here. And they are here. They've got no choice to sit here and to listen to you, no matter how long it takes, and respond to the best of their abilities. We're not going to resolve everything today, but working continuously together through these processes, the meetings of committees are open to you, houses of Parliament and everything, public hearings, constituency engagements. We are sure that we are going to deal with this problem. So don't be worried and feel that we are trying to gag you or to control what you say. It never happens. You've been here, most of you have been here before. So can we please, because also the kitchen has prepared something for you. They are saying that, no, you are taking too long, we want to close. And we don't want you to come here and leave hungry as well. You see, this is your Parliament. You must at least get something to eat. All right? No, we are not offering gravy. We are offering proper lunch. So can we allow your public representative to respond to you, and then we break for lunch? All right? Thank you very much. I'm going to start with Honorable... I know that she has to leave because she's got another meeting where they are waiting for her. So let's start with her, and then we come to Honorable Ramulubeng, and then we finish with the chairperson with the most issues to respond to, Honorable Cameron.
Thank you, Mr. Molapo, and I want to actually alleviate the fear that this is just a talk show. As members of Parliament, we are responsible, constitutionally so, to consult, cooperate, and coordinate. So all your questions that you have raised here is not like just an exercise. If it's so, which means we don't take our work serious as members of Parliament. So I believe that in this 7th Parliament, as we did, so help me God, we did it understanding that we need to be constitutionalist and revolutionarist. So I want to commit to yourself that whatever that you said, I have taken it in faith and noted it. And I would like to start with the man who has raised that he's been abused. You see, the problem that we have in our society in general is actually talking about crime as a normal thing. yet it's very abnormal. And I want to say to you, bring that case to us as the select committee of the NCOP. In the NCOP, we have a permanent delegate from Western Cape who would actually follow through that particular case to the latter, so that you get that 700 back. I could imagine if you, yes, but I'm just saying, imagine if you don't have money and you are being accused and that thing has never happened and all the processes were not undertaken properly. So, I mean, that you are actually normalizing abnormality. So I want to say to you, there's an honorable member from us as the NCOP, Honorable Gotzel and Honorable Gerik. Honorable Gotzel comes from the DA and Honorable Gerik from the EFF. They are permanent delegates representing your issues on the side of the Select Committee of Security and Justice. So I would like at some point to have that detailed report with regard to that criminal case. And I have my support staff here who is the secretary of the committee. Anything that you need us to follow through, like that issue of the minister of the Patriotic Alliance, bring it to the Select Committee and we will deal with it. We are the Select Committee that believes that we are all equal before the law. So I don't think that it is right that we wait for such platforms and then raise these criminal issues. Yet again, we have all Chapter 9 institutions that we can put to task to ensure that we deal with our issues. And I want to appreciate the comment and advice as raised with regards to the issue of Home Affairs. I would like to say to you, perhaps you would need to check on YouTube on what we said when we were passing the budget of Home Affairs. We spoke that let us employ what has been actually been given by GPW in terms of overnight shift to deal with their backlog. So we said to the minister then, can you deploy the very same system in responding to issues of Home Affairs? But I can tell you for free, sir, with regards to Home Affairs, digitalization is important, modernization is important, and automation, and as well human capital. So we are pushing in all fronts that if there are funded vacancies, let people be employed, and we must ensure that there's capacity, whether be resource or human capabilities. So whatever that you said, you can follow through and see that we are really committed in responding to that issue. Because I mean, issues of Home Affairs is from cradle to grave. So without Home Affairs, you are nothing. ID, it's a national security, according to me. So it is important that everybody should have an ID from birth to death. And then on the issue of the MK military veterans, ma'am, I want to indicate to you that it's not only your MK, your Mkhonto Wesizwe only. We have APLA that is involved. We have SAMVA that is involved. And as well, we have CMVO. Those are organizations that are actually, by law, by the Act, they should benefit in terms of their military veterans benefits. And they are beneficiaries. So I think what I can say is that you can check on Google the update in terms of how the organization has been actually composed in terms of those who need to benefit. But it is important as well to check within your province on how do they deal with issues of military veterans, because I know for free that provinces and local municipalities or your regions, if you have a regional sphere, they are responsible to ensure that they assist in terms of consolidation of a data. We all know that delay in terms of military veteran benefits is this inconsistent of their data in terms of who's supposed to be benefiting. And on your second, kindly wait, let us respond.
No,
we can.
no.
It's unparliamentary to do that, sir. It's very unparliamentary.
Because you have raised the issue, we have given you so much time to raise, so allow some time to also for response. Thanks.
I've given you an opportunity that I have my secretary here. You can write, no, thank you, but it's unparliamentary what you're doing. So I want to speak to the young woman there. I have noted your issue with regards to the community being involved and readily available to participate in terms of ensuring that we keep crime. But I like the fact that in whatever that you have related, you have just given us as well the concern that maybe the issue is a stakeholder relations. So with that issue, you can write to us as well so that we can come to Guguletu and have a stakeholder engagement with everybody on board just to check what are the issues. Because if you are part and the component of dealing with safety issues and you are not just taken as by the way factor, it doesn't work like that. In our work as members of parliament, when we do oversight and accountability, we know that stakeholder relations is part and parcel of the component that must assist police or this cluster in terms of dealing with crime. So we would like to exchange the contacts so that we can deliberately deal with the cause and deal with the issue. And then on other issues that one have noted, I want to say to yourselves, we have a petition and undertakings committee that has just been established in the NCOP to follow through all the commitment that has been done by ministers or during such sessions. If you feel that your issue has not been dealt with, you write to us as the petition and undertaking committee. The chairperson there is Honorable Mukai from the DA. So we go through your petition and follow it through to the latter up until we call the executive to come and account. One of our responsibilities as members of this house and both houses is to ensure that we do oversight even on the executives. So whatever that you have said here, it's noted as we'll be engaging with different ministers from all our entities who would deliberately, I like using the questions from members of the community because we are here as your mouthpiece. Questions that you have asked here, I must be able to use them to ask the minister, why not this? And this is what the community suggests needs to be done. So be assured that we'll deal with the issue. On the issue of SADC discrepancies on the salary, I want to indicate to you, sir, that the Minister of Defense has initiated an investigation into SADC discrepancies. So just follow us through as well. We'll be engaging with the department and I would ask on your behalf and we'll make sure that you get my secretary contacts so that you get your fully detailed response. Because it is important that you would need to get to understand what is happening with regards to that matter. On issues of gender-based violence and femicide, the person who has asked the question is out with regards to the national policy that speaks to the NSP. One would want to indicate to yourselves that there's an interministerial committee that deals with issues of GBVF. So what they do, they have a 90-day strategy of responding to all those issues. Even the issue of Omotoso is one of the issues that they are trying to look at and make sure that they interrogate it and get to the latter of what could have happened and up until whatever that will satisfy everybody can be addressed to. Because indeed, if we are for social justice, not any other thing. So we need to ensure that everybody feels free in South Africa and everybody enjoys the Bill of Rights as stipulated in our constitution. So those are the issues that this interministerial committee, they are dealing with because of the GBVF issue. It's a pandemic as pronounced by the president. And what they did is to ensure that they have a turnaround strategy on responding to issues every 90 days. If you would want to follow through on their day-to-day updates, there's a GCPS website where they would indicate, like as we are seated here, there's a messaging poster that would say in Eastern Cape, there's a case like this and this is a conviction and so on. So all of our issues are being taken out on weekly basis with regards to that communication. So it is important as well that when we are leaders of the society, in our respective stakeholders, respective organization, we need to belong in proper WhatsApp groups. Not the WhatsApps that just forward, you know, just engaging about crime as if it's a good thing to happen. You get something from Kukule to come into Mohlake, where I stay. Yet there is an issue just happening by our next door that we can intervene on and deal with it. So there's a need that you must belong on the government meseta so that 5 minutes you'll be updated in terms of which department is doing what, how, where, and you know. And I think as leaders of different societies, you can use those particular websites to ensure that you inform and give accurate information. Because as a leader, people are looking at you for proper information so that they know what is happening. Some of the things we are where we are on the basis that others, they don't have accurate updates on what is happening currently as we are sitting here. So it is important that we actually belong in this particular WhatsApp group that are informative. But again, Ntate Molapo, I want to indicate to this house that as the NCOP, we just came back from our strat plan where we have taken a decision that our work as members of parliament and the NCOP management should be community-centric, that everything should be community-based. I'm not going to come in a portfolio committee and then raise an issue just coming from my bedroom. It will be an issue that comes from the society as a mandate to say, they are saying they want to see this. Because we are representing yourselves, not our jacket. So just follow through as well the NCOP, because I see most of you, you follow the portfolio committee. While the NCOP, it's actually physically carrying your issues on a daily basis, specifically per province. So it is important that you come that side as well when we have our parliamentary session. The nice thing about your CIC there, he was part of the discussion of our Africa Day program. And we made a commitment that from now onwards, and you, Pastor, we made a commitment that anything that has to do with South Africans must represent the demographics of this country. And we are very clear and we are very deliberate because our transformational agenda speaks about us, not the few, or not those who are close to proximity. So I want to say to yourselves, as you always use this site, come as well and use that particular site. And as I conclude, we believe that as a sector, we can only respond to our issues if we work collaboratively so and consistently so every day in terms of our plan to ensure that we deal with safety issues. Because the issue of the budget, it will forever continue happening on the basis of our economic fiscus. But there are other programs that we can do without speaking about big budget, but checking who has what, who can help us in terms of resolving other issues. So we are not apologetic about ministers working together to ensure that we keep South Africa safe as we build better world and better Africa. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mananiso. Honorable Tamulubeng. Sorry.
Thank you again, Mr. Matapo. As indicated, my name again is Ms. Khomoto Enthea Ramolobeng. And let me welcome the questions and clarities that has been provided here. And I think some were not questions or clarities. There were more comments and recommendations or suggestions on how to better improve the work that we're doing in portfolio committees and in also making sure that we hold both the executive and the department accountable for their work. As indicated when I started the briefing with regards to correctional services, I had indicated that I'm not here alone. I have a team in my office, the chairperson's office, and I'm also equally supported by a team from the minister's office and both also in the deputy minister's office and including the National Commissioner's office. And the reason for that is because if there are pressing issues or matters that are raised here by stakeholders that urgently need to be addressed, they're here to take note so that when they get out of the session, they can then address them. And equally, if there are matters that have been raised here that requires an updated information that we could not have been able to forward or to give to you, they are here for that. That's part of the reason they are also equally forming part of the sessions in trying to provide solutions and equally tracing issues that are being raised. And one of those would be the Omodoso issue. On the deportation process, I think that becomes the Home Affairs matter on deporting Omodoso to his country of origin. But I think the matter it's a controversial matter that has been in our media space for a very long time. And if you follow it up, we would have heard the Minister of Justice, who equally was dissatisfied with the outcome of the courts to an extent that alluding to say they will appeal the judgment. So this is a matter of justice and NPA in appealing the process. But if it does appeal the process, Home Affairs then must do its process to try and bring back Omodoso to stand trial up until completion. So when that happens, so it's a justice. It's unfortunate that the Portfolio Committee of Justice, he is not here because of his unwell. He would have brought justice to the matter. And I speak because of previously in my previous term as a member of parliament, I did serve in the Justice Committee. So I'm airing what a process that unfolds when the matter happens. With regards to the keyboard that has been alluded, that has been found in Omodoso's cell or whilst he was a remand detainee, the department says there's none that was found in Omodoso's cell when he was detained in St. Albans management. An investigation was done, and based on that investigation, its conclusion, none of those or that alleged keyboard was found. Because of immediately when that was raised, I sent a message to get a response and clarity on what a process that led to him to be able to be allowed to have a keyboard in his cell. And that is a response I get equally to the issue of the treatment. So it is the allegations on treatment, they're saying there was none. So he was treated like any other inmate in the correctional facility. And this was equally done, an investigation was done on it. But before concluding on this, I want to probe something to all of us. Inmates, whilst they're incarcerated in correctional facilities or they are remand detainees in correctional facilities, they have certain few special things that are given to them, treatments, not treatment per se, Dr. Musoma, but they do have an opportunity to apply to use a radio, but there's a specified radio that they use. Because of some of the things that are not allowed in correctional facilities, they get to be referred as contrabands, and therefore they're illegal. So issues of phones are not allowed, issues of chargers are not allowed, and all other things. But for a TV and a radio station, there is a process that inmates do apply to have those. And an application goes to the head of the center, and once it's approved, then an inmate would be using those type of things that they do. So I'm not sure with the keyboard, it is allowed or not, but the department is saying there was no such a thing of a keyboard that Omotoso was using. So if there is evidence to that, that says he was found with the keyboard, I would kindly ask that they Sia, where you please stand. Sia is my committee secretary. Please give liars with him immediately after this briefing and provide with that. I can certainly assure you we'll follow this up until the last matter so that the department or the facility or the management in St. Albans can tell us why would it lie and say none were found when there's evidence to it. So there would be accountability and consequence management to that effect. And on issues of skills development in inmates and making sure that they get them and they get skilled, when I presented, I indicated that there are kitchens that have been closed down in correctional facilities because of they're in a dire state, not conducive to be operated in or to cook any food in it. And we had made a recommendation as the portfolio committee that whilst they repair and refurnish those kitchens, they must use offender labor. And part of offender labor, it's inmates. So in Durban, Westville, I can confirm here that the process of clearing up that kitchen in medium A, it's been done by inmates. So the scrapping, the painting, all the works for now, it's done by inmates, whilst we try to resolve the issues of public works and the department, which is in dispute. But what we've encouraged is that in the midst of those disputes, let them use inmates as part of skills development to try and deal with the day-to-day repair or maintenance of facilities. Durban Westville is a case in point. Mudapi kitchen also is another case in point that they are doing. So it's part of recommendations and the department is adhering to them. And it has been adhering to some inmates. You know, if you do an oversight, and I know civil society, NGOs and NPOs are welcomed in correctional facilities except political parties. Once you enter the correctional facilities and you go to workshops, you get to be exposed by the work of inmates that they do, including furnitures. You go to Goodwood Correctional Facility, the court that is in Goodwood there, the furniture that is housed there is done by inmates. You go to the former Minister of Correctional Services, the house that he stayed in, the furniture inside is done by inmates. And it's beautiful furnitures. At some point when I started in the previous term, I wanted to implore, there's a headboard I saw in Boesbeek Correctional Facility when we did an oversight. I loved that headboard. It was a beautiful, these new trends of headboards. It was done by inmates. It's just that the process of trying to procure it became a bit stiff, which is one of the things that we're speaking to the department to try to sort out, so that if there is a willingness from outside to buy, it must be a seamless process. It was a beautiful headboard done by inmates. So I would invite yourselves, as civil society organizations, when you have time amongst yourself, do liaise with the department so that it can arrange for your visit. You go to targeted areas that have workshops and agricultural sites and witness and see the work that is done by inmates. In workshops, steel, woodwork, including, the clothing. Yes, the textiles workshop. What inmates wear in prisons, it's been done by inmates. There is no service provider or an appointed company that does the uniform for inmates. It's inmates, it's offender labor. So those who work at the textile, there is a certain percentage or portion that they use as part of offender labor process, but it's done by inmates. And this is part of the skills development that we are talking about, which is one of the key components that the portfolio committee is saying to the department, We've seen a number when they appeared before the portfolio committee on the third quarter report, that the number of inmates that are participating in those programs, the workshops, the textiles, agricultural, including the educational programs, has lessened. So they must encourage inmates to participate in their large number as part of rehabilitation and skills programs. The issue of them getting jobs immediately with those skills, it's another matter that we must enter into as society at large. Because I know once you have a criminal record, it becomes difficult to be employed by government outside. But that does not stop you in getting your own company registered and provide the skills that you had inside prison and outside. The plumbing system. You can open a company that deals with plumbing. You can open a company, or you get, if you are lucky enough, you have a support of friends and family. If you have been working on the textile side, buy machines and start doing your own tailoring outside. So that's what it encourages. Whilst you still seek employment, but there must be other avenues or opportunities that you get to venture into. So those are part of the skills programs that the department is working on, and those are part of the processes the department, as the portfolio committee, were equally monitoring as and when the department comes and report on their first quarter or second quarter or their third quarter, including when they come and report on their annual report to say what is it that they've done as the department post 2023-2024 financial year, and when they need to take accountability on that. So I think I have touched on the job implications, including the skills. The cost to it, what was a worrying factor to us as the portfolio committee, is the allocation that the department would have given to these programs. We're saying it's too little, especially if it needs to produce more. And if it's part of their work in incarcerating inmates, is to make sure that they are rehabilitated. And if you need to enter into a stage of rehabilitating inmates, then you must budget a very sizable allocation to it. But if it's lesser, it means also the intake becomes less. So that's what our recommendation is, that look into those components. The budget must talk to what you want to achieve. If you want to achieve 100% target, your budget equally must talk to that. But your budget can't talk to 20% when your deliverable goals are at 100%. So the two must be able to complement one another and talk to each other. So those are our recommendation on the department. But outside that, I would, as I did in January when I was here, encourage that you do join the portfolio committee meetings when they sit. The portfolio committee on correctional sits every Tuesday. If it's virtual, it's 9:30. If it's a physical sitting, it's at 10 o'clock. Members of the community are allowed as observer status to come and sit and observe on processes of parliament. So do come on board, and then so that we're able, and equally, if you have recommendations or suggestions on how we should try to assist the department in dealing with the current challenges that they're facing, they're more welcomed. Our details and information are on the website when you click to it. I think my numbers are now all over because I get almost people who raise their frustrations or issues on a daily basis that we try to tackle with. They're more welcome, the suggestions, and we tackle these challenges that the department faces together. It must not be an isolated or an isolation of only the portfolio committee that is given that responsibility, but all civil society organs on board, and we see whether in this battle we'll be able to win. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Chair. The last response comes from Honorable Cameron.
There we go. My English is going to be finished before the week has even started. I'm going to start with just the Western Cape crime. If you don't mind, there's so many questions. I'm going to run through everything and just explain it as we go. Just in terms of Western Cape crime and me not being as vocal, I would actually like to invite you. I was in Tafelsig on Friday night again after all the shooting. I was there on Thursday night as well. I was in Googs, I think 4 weeks ago, I stand to be corrected. But unfortunately, it's difficult to get everywhere. And I'm going to be very honest with you, is that I need to be very careful, even though my political constituency is in the Western Cape. I have to give the same amount of attention all over the place. Just in terms of what we have done, I can honestly say to you that the amount of motions, not just from me, but from the entire portfolio committee regarding specifically areas of concern, whether it is Inanda, whether it is Guguletu, Alex in Joburg, whatever the case may be, has been overwhelming. The frustration that I've had, and again, open cards, is that we don't get a substantial answer. If it were not for our oversight visits to public order policing units, for example, I promise you that most of them, for example, in the Western Cape, as an example, would still have less than 60% of, at that stage, they had less than 30% of their vehicles actually working. After our visit and the reporting to the Minister and the National Commissioner, we suddenly saw a whole lot of repairs being done. But it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't have to be that we kind of do surprise visits every time just to see basic things done. And then I'm not talking about seriously broken vehicles. I'm talking about having to fix a tire or replacing a windscreen or something like that. Recently, I saw one of the public order vehicles that had a perspex window that the members had attached themselves just in order for them to be able to work. So, you know, it's also unfair to them. I'll come back to more of the committee activity regarding that. Just in terms of the boss of CI in the Western Cape, at the moment, the head of crime intelligence in the Western Cape is an acting brigadier, Brigadier Moyana, according to me. He replaced the previous head of crime intelligence, Major General Mzwandile Tio. So that's just a point of clarity. Then Mr. Tate, in terms of your questions, you're actually the reason usually that my English is finished before half of the week, because you have very detailed questions. The Police Act currently is not fit for purpose, and it is not one that we can adequately use. The SAPS amendment bill is absolutely critical. We have heard again this past week that there has been relevant allocations in the budget as well for the SAPS amendment bill process. So it is up and coming. I know that preliminary, it has been indicated to Cabinet as well. So it is definitely in the process. Will it be rewritten completely? I don't know yet. I doubt it. We'll have to go through this entire process. I think it's going to be a very, very strenuous process to go through, and we'll communicate as soon as we start on that. In terms of the legislative framework for crime intelligence, I completely agree with you. One of the biggest frustrations for us with the police committee is that a lot of the things that are discussed regarding crime intelligence, say, for example, Secret Service Fund, as much as I want to fight that fight and say who stole the money or pay back the money, it is something that falls under the Joint Intelligence Committee, and we're not mandated for that. So it's extremely frustrating because it's linked. It always comes back to being linked with the police. In terms of the National Police Board being appointed, it is on the list. I'm not sure exactly where on the agenda it is off by heart, but it is certainly there. And then in terms of CSPS or the Secretariat's capacity improved, and specifically for the amendment bill, I don't think it has been approved adequately or improved adequately. But what I am encouraged by is the attitude of Parliament towards it, and that there would be additional capacity created to assist in processing the necessary. So I must also say the last few months with the Civilian Secretariat has really been positive in the way that they present things and so on. So it seems to be that there is a very positive shift in the approach to certain things, and I hope we can build on that. Then, Mr. Steyn, in terms of your question on protecting whistleblowers, it is a remarkable concern for all of us. I don't have a good answer for you because I don't think all whistleblowers are safe. There's no use in me sugarcoating it. It's the truth. We all take risks in what we say. Very few of us have any form of additional layered security of any kind. So that's the risk we have to take. Is it fair? Definitely not. Something that was questioned during this whole budget process was the idea of better whistleblower protection and just witness protection in general. Unfortunately, the chair of the Justice Committee is not here to address that directly. But even within the MPA, it's not only protecting witnesses, but also protecting their own prosecutors and the risks that they take, because many of them simply do not have the protection that they need. I feel like I'm a bearer of bad news because I can just kind of emphasize or confirm what you're saying, because I don't see a direct solution in a short space of time. Then Bishop, you asked, are we still safe in the country? No, not completely. We're not. It's the reality. I mean, between 60 and 70 people murdered every day. We're not safe. If I were to tell you that you're safe, Mitchell's Plain came up so many times today. I think the last 2 times I was there, just in the last 2 weeks, while you're in a meeting, you hear gunshots going off a few blocks away. There's nothing normal about that. And we certainly shouldn't accept it as the norm, but no, we're not. It is important, and people might differ. We have seen a slight decrease in murder, but it's so minimal compared to the amount of people being killed that it's not something we can celebrate yet. So we acknowledge it. It's good if there is a slight decrease. If it's one less life that's lost, obviously we should welcome that. But we're not at a point where we're winning, in my opinion. I think there's a lot to do regarding that. There was a question regarding the difficulty to get firearm licenses. It's more of a frustration than it being difficult. So just start the process if you need to. Generally speaking, the feedback that we're getting is positive when people are applying for lawful firearm licenses. So but it is a very, very frustrating process, and it takes quite long. But I must also say that I think many of the regulations are good and necessary. If they are enforced properly, then we should stand by that. Then one that's very important, and I was expecting it to come up from the CPF representatives from Gugulethu, is the case of Auntie Goofy Lulama. And I don't know if that's a specific offender that you were potentially referring to, but I knew Auntie Goofy, who was the previous chair of the CPF there, and she was assassinated for speaking up. There's no other way of putting it. She was assassinated, and she's a remarkable, absolutely remarkable human being. And I have received an inquiry, I think last week, about the following up of it, because one of the people accused in that matter was also very arbitrarily just released and not communicated to the community in any way, which is very frustrating. Now, there I must also say that, and I'm sure the relevant chairs will agree with me, that there's this constant siloed approach, whether it's the MPA, the police and correctional services. But I'm like, guys, if you want to do a crime stats release, you should be sitting here together, because social development should say, but this is what we've noted. We can address certain issues in this way, and immediately there could be some kind of an integrated approach in resolving certain things. At the moment, the police, and even though they need to be held accountable, but at that initial release of statistics, they take shots like there's no tomorrow, and there are certain things that there are different departments that play a role. So I'm just saying, I think the approach for that needs to potentially be changed. In terms of just something I noted, the last 2 times I was at the Gugulethu station, it was flooded again at the front. So, I mean, the fact that was ongoing, I know there was construction outside and so on, but it makes it even more frustrating. I don't know if that was resolved recently. In terms of the renting of the station, I am aware of that. We've previously said it should actually be a devolved station to give the station to SAPS to manage. The majority of stations that are given and become the property of the South African Police Service are managed quite well. What we've seen with oversight is it actually works quite well. At the moment, there was this constant to and fro between Public Works and the South African Police Service. Ended up that SAPS owed Public Works a large amount of money. And when they resolved that and a payment process was confirmed, then things started running a little bit smoothly, or more, a little bit better. Then there was a question as to the hope in the institutions. I really want to tell you that, even though we share doom and gloom stories and challenging things, I want to tell you that there are magnificent people that still work in all of these institutions. And I don't say that lightly. I say that because I know many of them personally. And, I make it a point that if I see a police vehicle standing next to a road, I stop there and I talk to them and I ask them, what are the challenges you face? And if you see the incredible motivation with which many of them still work, it is so encouraging to know that they are still there. So all is certainly not lost. In my personal opinion, there's always reason to hope and to have hope. In terms of the Gugulethu CPF again, questions regarding communication, I think there will be a big form of assistance with the sitting regarding the integrated justice system. We really need that desperately. It's something that's been talked about for, I think, close to 2 decades, and we unfortunately haven't seen any kind of result on that, despite all the money spent on it. So, in about 2 or 3 weeks' time, you will be able to see the feedback on that. It's not something that will happen overnight, but that is certainly something that will improve this whole situation. In my opinion, what should happen if there are parolees, for example, being released in an area that is already problematic, the CPF, along with the police, need to be notified. But very, very often the police aren't notified at all. And it just creates further frustration. And I think there's a lot to do there with communication. IPID and the Ombudsman, I think there is a discussion possibly to be had. I can tell you one thing. All of the IPID members are certainly not just police officers. I tell you now, the amount of pushback that they get as being members of IPID trying to investigate police is significant. And they are very often seen as the enemy. You can imagine how difficult it is when you have to do serious criminal investigations with the very people that understand criminal investigations so well. So it's just so much easier to be able to sidestep. So they are massively under-resourced. I mean, they've hardly got 400 investigators in the country against a police service of over 150,000 operational members. So that goes to show the pressure that they work under. They are seeing more resources allocated now after this budget process. Still not enough, but I think all of us can agree that you'll never have enough policing resources. There is movement on it and growth on it. Reinstated criminal members or alleged criminal members or people waiting to stand trial. I can just emphasize the frustration. Recently had a member at Ballard as well. He was caught busy weighing drugs and packaging drugs. He's back at work. He's a detective at the Ballard police station. Followed it up several times, and there was another specific one, I think, that was involved in selling dockets. And the answer from the Provincial Commissioner in the Western Cape was that the relationship wasn't irrevocably damaged after what he did. Now, we've got a different definition of integrity when a police member sells drugs or dockets from a police vehicle, and then you say it's not damaged enough. The last one was just in terms of an independent police service or police force, as it was said. It's a much bigger discussion. I don't think it's something that I can address from here. I understand the frustration. I must tell you that, and I say it with respect, that we must be very careful of saying our people. I get very irritated by it, and I say it honestly because as soon as someone says that, I start saying, but who am I now? In which box do I fit? Which category do I fit? I really couldn't care less who or what color or culture you are. It's irrelevant to me. We've got this massive fight to fight, and if someone's hurt, we need to help them. So yeah, I think that covers them. Thank you, Chair.
No, I think this is the best opportunity to give yourself a big round of applause. Because you see, the hours that you have been here on behalf of the people of South Africa. You might not realize it, but you have been representing the people of South Africa, because you are that 0.001% of the population that was able to make it here and to have a discussion with Parliament on how to resolve the problems of South Africa. So you have to give yourself another round of applause for that great work. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. It's rainy, it's cold, but when Parliament called to say, come and help us to address these issues, you did not say that, no, the roads are wet and it's very cold and there's flooding and all those kind of things. You got out of bed, some of you left your warm offices, air-conditioned offices. Some of you left your warm homes to be here in order to address the problems that are facing South Africa. And I will assure you that you have done a great job. You might not, live here with all the solutions, but we have made a serious dent on the problems facing
Can I make a
South
request
Africa.
through your spokesperson? Just a simple request, one request.
Yeah.
Please, I'm just standing on behalf of, if you've mentioned the people of South Africa, I'm part of a police forum, a chairperson in the district of Kailicha. This issue of Ndate Mkhwanazi is a serious matter. I know our president is in Rio. I hope he's on his way back. Please, through you, spokesperson, I'm asking you, please ask the president to address this matter, because our citizens are concerned. Our citizens are worried. The trust of our policing is next to none. Please, sir.
Yeah. No, I think the chairpersons that are here have showed leadership on that matter, and that Parliament is taking this matter seriously. The president himself is on his way from Rio. I'm sure he has already arrived, or he will arrive very soon, and he has indicated in the statement that the chairperson of police also alluded to, that is the top of his agenda, of his priorities when he lands in South Africa. Government, Parliament, and I'm sure all of us will take that seriously. As the chairperson said, it's something that is unprecedented and it has to be dealt with. But I think let's I knew that. No, please. We started I'm going, yeah. I knew that when I allow one, I'm going to allow everyone. Okay, yes, no, thank you very much. So, but thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's not spoil it. We did very well. There is food outside. And then also the other category of this meeting, I think, is traditional leadership. They've got their own designated place where they will be eating. And then Mr. Tole will be showing them where, so that, because there's not enough here, so we thought that let the other category also eat somewhere. But thank you very much. Thank you to the chairpersons for their inputs, for their presentations. The meeting is adjourned.